Now, when I initially hear this song, I think of Mine All Mine by Van Halen off OU 812, the second album with Sammy Hagar. Just that very beginning. Once it gets into that, it doesn't sound anything like that, but it reminds me of Mine All Mine off the very beginning. How are you doing, everybody? It's a preseason Oilers game day. They are in Winnipeg tonight to face the Jets. The Jets should have a superior lineup going into that game. We'll talk about that as we move through the afternoon. We will have Eugene Lewis from your Edmonton Elks. Massive game coming up for them Friday in Winnipeg. If things don't shake down well for the Elks this weekend, it could be, well, virtually elimination from the playoffs. Maybe not mathematically, but virtually. But we'll talk to Eugene Lewis about that last game against the Bombers, a very low-scoring affair for most of the game, and obviously another quarterback change for the Green and Gold. We will have an off-topic topic about failure. I'll just tease it at that for now. And we will discuss something. We'll talk about a message that we got yesterday to the show that was, I wouldn't, not exactly critical of the show, but pointing out something about the show and how it relates to something I used to do earlier in my career, because I want to kind of take people behind the scenes and into my thought process and respond to this message that we got. That's all coming up today on the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. That's Jay. I'm Reid. Hey, Jay.
Hello.
You can follow us on Twitter. Jason is at Jason Milne, JasonMilne. I'm at Reid Wilkins, ReidWilkins. And you can follow Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports, at YEG Sports Talk. All right, we are going to kick things off here with a guy that you used to watch in the Canadian Football League and also in the National Football League for a couple of seasons. And you now see him on TSN regularly, talking about both those leagues as well. Davis Sanchez is going to join us in about... Oh, now we have him. We got him. Davis, it's Reid and Jay. How are you doing, sir?
Hello. I cut out for a second, but I hear you now.
Okay, we got you loud and clear. Thanks for making time for us. I know you're a busy guy, so we'll dive right into some of the things that we want to chat about with you, both sides of the border. We might as well start right here in Edmonton. They're changing starting quarterbacks again. It's going to be MBT after being Trey Ford, after it was MBT, after it was Trey Ford, after it was MBT. I think that summarizes the season. There have been some injuries in there that have affected as well. You know, you've seen this as a media guy. You've been through it as a player with teammates with quarterback changes. How do you look at this, and how does this affect a team when they're going back and forth a bit?
This is a real tough one. I assume that because they're kind of different personalities. One's a vet, and one's a Canadian. I'm sure that they probably have different circles that they kind of run with, and that's why I look at that locker room dynamic. And I would bet that you guys would probably know this being there, but half the guys are Team Trey, and half the guys are Team Macbeth. And I don't necessarily mean that doesn't have to be overly divisive way. It just has to be, who you would rather have playing and who's kind of your guy. And that's just because there's not a right answer for this. I go back and forth. I sometimes think it should be Mac because of all what he possesses as a veteran, and kind of maybe I trust more in a bigger spot. But then you look at the talent and the upside and the greatness of Trey, and how could you put that guy on the bench? So I would guess that locker room is split. And like I said, I don't mean it's necessarily a bad split, but just some guys don't believe the decision is right, and some guys do.
Yeah. We're going to play a clip here. I think you'll be able to hear it, but I'm sure you have heard it if you hadn't. But we kind of want to get your reaction to it. This is Chad Johnson, former Bengals receiver, who had a kind of a cup of coffee with the Alouettes about 10 years ago. He did an interview recently, and he was talking about the talent level in the Canadian Football League. Here's what Johnson had to say.
Listen, in the CFL, there's only 1,500 players in the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. So I go to the CFL and thinking, okay, this is going to be a breeze. I get there, first practice, I'm like, whoa, these dudes are good. And so every week we would play a different team, Toronto, Saskatchewan, and I'm looking at the landscape like, why are you not down there, the numbers. There's only so many people and certain opportunities. And, dude, the CFL was really very surprising because everybody was good. Shit, they were good enough to be down here playing in NFL.
All right, Davis. So you played in both leagues. You follow both leagues very closely. I don't know if you just want to react to what Johnson said or maybe share an experience that you had. What do you think?
I have heard that, and I'm really glad that somebody, with his platform said that, because it's, that resonates with people, and it's true. It's absolutely true. And I will say this is the way I've always described it, and I think if you ask Chad, and I've talked to Andrew Hawkins about this too, who's now on ESPN and spent some time with us in Montreal as well, and has a lot of love and respect for the CFL game. And I said, if you take the bottom 10% of every NFL roster, it's interchangeable with the top 10% of every CFL roster. So if you take those top 10% of every team, the players, they're interchangeable. You wouldn't know the difference. And it's just, that's about opportunity, right? So, yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of good players. Now, where the difference is the top 10%. There's no Jamar Chase. There's no Justin Jefferson. I don't think anybody in the CFL can block Myles Garrett, So when, a fan who would, argue those things, yes, you're right. The special guys in the NFL are the best athletes in the world, but they're even the gap from those guys to the middle range guys on their team is a huge gap. So I love to hear that. It's true. There's a lot of really talented guys in the CFL, Canadian and American, who easily, if given the opportunity, could make an NFL roster and have an impact on NFL rosters for sure.
Davis Sanchez from TSN joining us here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Davis, it's Jay here. The NFC North was shaping up to be a battle between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. But now you got to throw in the Minnesota Vikings with Sam Darnold looking like Tom Brady. Is this the most competitive division in the NFL? And how do you see this division playing out throughout the year?
Yeah, it's somewhat surprising. I mean, at least from Minnesota's standpoint, that's a shocker. I didn't think that we'd see that. I think we all had high expectations for Detroit and Green Bay, but Minnesota has been they're awesome. And it's Brian Flores is a defensive coordinator that people have a lot of respect for, and the people figure he would cause problems if he had the right personnel. And so, you're kind of seeing him giving people, he's a high blitz rate guy, a lot of different looks. I believe I saw, I don't have the number in front of me, but the number of pre-snap disguise is up at the top of the league, showing one high safety jumping into two high safety and vice versa, just, making it difficult for opposing quarterbacks. And then on the other side, Sam Darnold, and you can find it somewhere. I don't know if I probably should have found some proof, but I've been a Sam Darnold backer for a while now. I just believe that, he's a guy that, if given the right opportunity, would do well, because think of this. We think of all the quarterbacks who are so-called busts, right? Like the list of guys. The common denominator with those guys that, and doesn't apply to Sam Darnold, is locker room issues and maturity issues. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're dead on there.
So if you think of those guys in the past, most of those guys, I won't say all of them, but a lot of those guys, there's issues in, you always hear after they left, maybe they didn't study hard enough, or maybe they weren't locker room guys, or they weren't. But Sam Darnold, if you talk to the guys around the league and coaches, all they have is praise for Sam Darnold, and he's a tremendous talent. So you kind of figure that, he'd have some success. So it's really nice to see him.
Now, I'm a Commanders guy, okay? I admit that's my team. Those are my guys. And newly crowned NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Jayden Daniels and his Commanders looked impressive in that victory against Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. In your opinion, is he the real deal, or is this too small of a sample size right now?
How many games do we need to see before we can label someone? You tell me, and then I'll give you my answer. What do you think? How many games? What's the sample size we need?
Okay. Well, here it is. I mean, he's through 3 games. He's
Fair question. I'm not being sarcastic either. I'm being honest.
No, I know you're not.
You have to make it. Yeah.
I agree. I feel you. Okay. Through 3 games, he has not thrown an interception. He has looked competent. He's looked comfortable in that offense. And they are now 2-1. I want to say at the halfway point of this season, if halfway things are trending, Washington has a winning record, and he is trending the same way he has for the first 3 games.
He's absolutely the real deal if that's the case. I mean, if we have to make a decision after 3 games, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, here's something too. You look at his quarterback efficiency, which you would think would be probably something he might struggle with. I believe he's first. He's either first or second in the NFL in quarterback efficiency. I think if you're the Commanders brass and you know people told you after 3 weeks he'd be at 2-1 he'd be the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. And if you look across the board, he's not in the top 5 in passing. They're not in the top 5 in rushing. Not in the top 5. There's a bunch of most of the important offensive categories. They're not in the top 5. They're close. They're floating around 5 to 10 in a lot of those, but they're pretty good at all of them. And to your point, not turn the ball over. I mean, I will be very happy. Well, the throw, obviously, if you're a Commanders guy, you saw the throw to Scary Terry where he took a massive hit and dropped a dime. I mean, he stood in, he took a hit. I mean, I had a guy, a teammate of mine, a friend of mine who was, it's a negative, so I won't say the where and the when, but he was on a staff where Jayden was on that team. And I asked him about it before the draft, trying to get some insight on Jayden for the draft. And he told me that he thought that Jayden was really good against teams that not the higher elite teams in the conferences. So he would against subpar teams, he made big plays, but he thought that if he got drafted by a bottom team in the league like Washington, that against.
For context, I'll just add before I pass it back to Reid. In going 21 of 23, Jayden Daniels set a rookie record by completing 91.3% of his passes. That is the best to ever have happened by an NFL rookie quarterback. So, yes, wow. As a Commanders fan, we deserve it. It's been terrible.
Hey, let me throw this in too, real fast. But as for athleticism and watching him do it, watch him move around the pocket. It's not about your speed, right? As a quarterback, you know, guys are fast. It's about how quick are you between the tackles, like that slippery quickness between the tackles. And he is. And you know what? It's funny. Trey's exactly the same. There's a great comparison right there. I don't care if you line up in a 40, if they run a 4.7 or they run a 4.25. How quick are you in those little quick movements within, you know, it would be a cone drill, how quick are you within those movements? Damon Allen was like that as well. Trey is absolutely like that, probably better than Jayden, but Jayden's like that too. And all the quarterbacks in the league, there's guys that are fast and there's guys that are really quick. And you can't get those really quick guys on the ground. They're tough to get down the ground. So a special skill set that's for a quarterback.
Well, and you get bonus points for tying it all back to an Edmonton player. So that's good context.
Bravo.
Davis, I just want to throw you one more because I think obviously, you know, you haven't been retired for that long. So I'm sure, you know, unless somebody really young is listening, everybody remembers you playing and you were an excellent player. You know, we're late September. We've gone through the Labor Day series. It's pretty nice out today in Edmonton, but most days you're starting to feel a little bit of a chill in the air. What was it like as a CFL player, you know, looking at the schedule? There's 7, 6, 5, 4, 4 games left in the regular season. You're jockeying for a playoff spot. Like I said, you can feel autumn in the air, that real football weather. Like, what do you remember about this time of year as a player?
This is going to come off really arrogant. So brace yourself for those who don't like me. I apologize, or I've proven you right if you don't like me already. And if you're impartial, please don't use this against me. I played for Montreal for so long, and I was so fortunate to be on those teams with Anthony and all the great players that I played with there. By this time we were almost had locked up the 1 seed. Most years we have locked up the 1 seed by this time. Like I would say at least half the time I was there, with four games to go, we were trying to figure out how to stay healthy and because we had already locked up the 1 seed or darn close to it. So for me, it was a bit different in that regard, but it is an exciting time of year. This has been a year like no other in the CFL in regards to parity. I mean, I still, other than a pretty dominant Montreal team who, still can be beat. Look at the standings. I mean, everyone, there's 8 teams with the same record pretty much. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it's going to be great. This last month, and I think we've seen some of the best games in the last few years this year. And then I put it all on the quarterback play, or a lot of it on the quarterback play. It's pretty good. It's going to be exciting. And also, let's give one shout out to the Canadians, because they're getting so good. These young Canadians too are the level of play from our homegrown players is through the roof. I always say this. I was fortunate enough to be a Canadian who played in the NFL, and I look at now, I don't think as a Canadian I would even make a CFL roster. So that should tell you the difference in how good these kids are now. I love watching them play.
Well, you were both arrogant and modest in that answer, I guess.
Well, hang on a second. Let's be clear here, Davis. The stats are the stats. You're not being arrogant. You're just telling the truth.
That team was good.
You're revisiting history. Some of it that we're a little gun shy about here in Edmonton, but it's the truth. You guys were good.
No, it was good. It was fun. Fortunate to have a good quarterback. You have a good quarterback for a long time. You're going to win a lot of games.
Davis, thanks for being so generous with your time. Loved having you on the show here. Let's keep in touch. I love your football insight. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Hey, that was fun, guys. Cheers.
Davis Sanchez checking in. Yeah, pretty good pro career from 99 to 2011, mostly with Montreal, was with San Diego, also played for Calgary, and 1 year with the Double E, though he was not in the 05 Grey Cup game. Wasn't on the roster for that one, and now you get him on TSN. So just quickly here, I have not seen the Commanders play. Now, because on Monday night, I didn't watch either Monday nighter because I went to the Oilers game.
Yes.
So I've seen snippets of highlights. So I'll have to try to get a better viewing on Jayden Daniels, because I know you're eager for my scouting report.
You know what? It's just it's something that you see, and it's just you can't explain. He looks comfortable back there. He looks like he's having fun, and it looks like the game is coming easy to him.
Well, that's important for a quarterback, especially. There's that presence.
Yes.
And even if they make mistakes,
that's going to happen.
Are they phased? Or, do they still walk off the field with their shoulders up and their head high, all that stuff?
But the ability to go into Cincinnati into a shootout style game and deliver the throws that he delivered. I mean, that throw to Terry McLaurin to essentially seal the deal in that game was probably one of the best throws you'll see this year. He was getting absolutely rocked as he was throwing this ball, launched a dime that literally fell into the back corner of the end zone. You can't cover that. I mean, he threw the ball as Terry McLaurin was coming out of his break on the 20-yard line. Right. It's good to see. I'm not crowning him. It's too early for me. Am I excited? Yeah, of course I am. Have you seen who I've had to cheer for the last several years? It's been awful.
Taylor Heineke?
Taylor Heineke was actually one of the good ones.
He was actually one of the better ones. We are in the James H. Brown studio. James H. Brown Personal Injury Law Firm, the heavy hitters of injury law. With over 200 years of experience, James H. Brown will get you the settlement you deserve. JamesHBrown.com, the website. Book your private consultation today.
Raise hail. That's what they say. Raise hail. Hail to the Commanders.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
780-218-9999 is the EST inbox. You can jump into the nasty chat on YouTube. We also got a very interesting tweet yesterday, which is going to take me down memory lane a little bit. Here comes the Coop first.
Elks wide receiver Gavin Cobb and running back Javon Leake did not practice due to thigh issues. Come hang out with the entire EST crew at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for the Elks' next game against the Bombers this Friday. The Reid Wilkins Show will be live from Fort Road 3 to 5 with the Green and Gold Kickoff Show leading into the game with kickoff at 6. In the NFL, Commanders running back Austin Eckler has been ruled out for week 4 due to a concussion. The Commanders play their next game Sunday against the Cardinals, and it was Packers QB Jordan Love being limited today in practice. He's been dealing with some knee injuries, forcing him to be benched for the last 2 games. Vikings and the Packers go this Sunday. It's the Oilers Jets tonight for some preseason action. Puck drop goes at 6. Elsewhere, we got the Caps Devils, Flames Canucks, and Kings Golden Knights. Caps Devils kick off the night at 5 o'clock. Just after the break, the Reid Wilkins Show continues right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date.
Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Come get your game on at The Ranch. The Ranch lets it all hang out with a championship caliber design, premier conditions, and above all, a fun laid-back experience. Get top-notch service and unmatched value every time you play at The Ranch. Think you have what it takes to go low? The best value for your golfing buck is always The Ranch. The Ranch Golf and Country Club. 10, 50, 100, and 200 round packs on sale. TheRanchGolf.com.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki with like a giant eagle's wings and singing lead vocals for Leonard Skinner with like an angel band. And I'm in the crowd hammered drunk.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road, parkmazda.ca.
Few of us can say that we're over 60 and still hot, but Mr. Mike's Burger can. And to celebrate over 60 years of Mr. Mike's famous burger, you're invited to taste history for only $8.99 at Mike Burger Madness. Savor the original flame-grilled Mike Burger on their signature garlic French loaf for a limited time. Dine-in only price of just $8.99. Sides extra. It's Mr. Mike's Mike Burger Madness, and you'd be mad to miss it. Offer ends September 30th. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
All right, we are back on the Reid Wilkins Show with me, Jay Milne, resident EST poker. I would say best in class. Matty, after he was the best EST personality to finish in the first Cool Bet Lock Shop Series tournament, crowned himself as EST champ. You guys know me. The glue guy ain't going that far. I mean, I did have a significant chip lead. I was doing good. I was playing at the table with Big Uke. I was playing at... there was a couple ESTers on there. I'm pretty sure Jen Cool was on there. She got beat late. That stunk. I kept watching, and Dustin was live streaming it the whole time. It was so entertaining.
Maybe I'll go in one just for curiosity.
I had to get my wife to come over a couple times because I'm like, look at this. He's sitting in his basement eating Oreos and drinking a rum and Coke in these silly glasses. Like it was so EST. It was beautiful. Thanks for everybody that played, partook, and if you didn't, there's another one coming up in October, so we'll make sure to do it again. Reid,
yes.
Yesterday during our show, we had an interesting tweet come in. I like to keep apprised to Twitter in case any sporting news breaks, right? But one that was sent directly or was a response to one of our show tweets from Wild West Hero said, "I won't listen until you have callers. It was Reid Wilkins' magic sauce at 6:30 Ched. It's what makes the Dan Patrick Show. There's lots and lots of talking head shows and podcasts out there, all who abandon callers. Let's hear from your community." So I took the took the step to reply to him and say, look, we do have the EST inbox, 780-218-9999, and we have the Nasty Chat as an outlet for those watching on YouTube. And we love hearing from all of you, all of our listeners. It makes part of our show. It adds for context and dialogue. So that is a great way for us. But the days of, I guess I'll ask this off the top, Reid, but are the days of a call-in radio show, is that numbered?
I will say no, but things are changing.
Sure.
I mean, even since I think the text line at 6:30 Ched came in while I was producing Oilers Now. So it would have been between 2011 and 2013. We started having the ability to read texts. You can read tweets. We can read stuff out of the Nasty Chat. I mean, we can read... actually, hardly anybody emails anymore. For a while, 20 years ago, people were emailing. Somebody send me an email, reid@edmontonsportstalk.com, just so I get one. Write me a filthy limerick that I could never read on air. Yes. I don't know if I should have said that now that I said it.
Yes.
That tweet did catch my attention. I mean, it always sucks when someone just says they flat out won't listen until this. And I don't even know if we can technologically take calls right now. But there's plenty of listener interaction. I think there's plenty of it.
Well, we just took a call from David Sanchez.
Yeah, well,
so
I think we called him.
Okay,
but I don't know. We don't have a board.
Yeah, you probably could.
We probably could, but I don't know if we could line up 8 calls like we could on Ched or other stations. I mean, that's an interesting comment because I think there's plenty of listener interaction. I don't know exactly what that, and I guess the person who tweeted that isn't listening because they said they're not going to listen. I suppose thank you for saying it was my magic sauce at my previous station. I would guess that a lot of that came from Overtime Open Line because I would think that was the most listened to portion of the day I did because it was immediately after Oilers games. And they played some pretty darn games in April, May, and June last year. I just wonder, from just a standpoint of what that person wrote, I would wonder what he is saying the magic sauce was. Was it that we took calls? Was that that I made people feel like they could call? Was it how I interacted with people? Was it how I dismissed the people that we didn't want that didn't need to be on air much longer? But several things. The reality is, when I am preparing for a show, and I learned this early in hosting Inside Sports, because one night there was some topic, I thought, I'll talk about it for 2 minutes and the phone lines will light up. And nobody called in, and I was completely unprepared. So I hope everybody understands how I mean this, because obviously I love hearing to people, and some people are listen to me before. There's some new people, like the Nasty Chat and the Nasties, as everybody is known. It's really cool. It's a good community. I've noticed there's really mature and good debate about stuff when people disagree. I haven't seen a lot of meanness or insults or stuff like that, which is really encouraging. But I guess as a host, I can't go into a show assuming that the listeners are going to carry the show, because it's my job to carry the show, right? So I don't sit there thinking, there's going to be 20 calls tonight. I mean, even some editions of Overtime Open Line, it might be 2 or 3 people call. I mean, maybe it's a routine game on February 12th, and there's really not much to say. The Oilers won 4-2, and McDavid got 2 points, and Draisaitl got 2 points, and Nuge scored. Okay, not everything. So you got to have stuff to say and talk about in your mind. I don't think it's good for maybe, and this is just me. Maybe other hosts would say different things. I can't go into something thinking, I'll just sort of half-ass it and let the listeners carry it. Now, sometimes there's magic, as you and I have already found, and I've found earlier. You throw out an off-topic topic where something gets a foothold, and then that's sort of driving the show with a bunch of energy. But I don't go into it assuming that. And I will also say this, and again, I hope everybody understands where this is coming from, but I think they will. If you're calling a radio show, there is only one person in the world that call is really important to, and that's the caller, him or herself. Okay? If you're So if you're Jack from Fairview and you want to call into whatever show Reid Wilkins is hosting, and you think you got a great phone call and a great idea, and it might be a good phone call, but really no other listeners are that eager to hear from you. If you're good on air and you want to banter with me or ask me a question or challenge me, it could turn out to be really good, but really it's only super important to you, if that makes sense.
Can I just say that the sentiment you are laying out right now is 100% backed by the Nasty Chat and those chiming in the EST inbox.
And that's the cool thing about the Nasty Chat is a lot of people post there with little or zero expectation that it'll be on air because it's its own little community.
Absolutely.
Or they just know that you or I might see it or read it. I know you reply more than I do, but that's a fair comment. And I don't mind talking about this because I think people know me well enough that I really love doing this job. And I find it interesting, and I've loved doing it, and I want to keep doing it. So, do you know what Studio 99 is?
Yes.
The big sports bar in Rogers Place. I know some people still aren't familiar with it, but it's a big Wayne Gretzky-themed sports bar in Rogers Place. You can go hang out there before or after the games. And Ched has a big U-shaped booth in there, and we would do the face-off show and Overtime Open Line from there. I assume they're doing it from there again this year. So it opened, 2018, I want to say, and then we weren't in there, obviously, during the pandemic because no one was in there, and then eventually went back in there. But so we'd have a lot of interaction with people in there. And if people would come up to me and say, thanks for the show, we enjoyed the show, we listened driving home after games, I started to say, okay, this is an opportunity to get feedback. And I would say to people, if you don't mind me asking, and I said, I'm not fishing for a compliment. I actually want to know so we can keep building the show. I said, why do you listen to Overtime Open Line? And I very informal polling, but the number one reason would be they wanted to hear the coach post-game comments. And then, or the players, if there was a key player. The number two reason was they wanted to hear Rob Brown's analysis, which I wanted to hear as well. That was my favorite part of the show. And then probably the number three thing was that they just liked the chemistry with Rob and I. If somebody brought up the phone calls we took on Overtime Open Line, the comment was usually, I don't know how you deal with those people, or I have to change the channel once you start taking calls. And really, in the grand scheme of things, most of the calls were fine. Sometimes the boring ones or the weird ones stood out a little bit, but most of them were fine. Most of them were good questions, or people just needed to have their say or offer something emotionally. But again, I find that most listeners, and we have viewers as well, most audience members to a sports show don't necessarily need to hear from other audience members. They want to hear from the professional broadcasters or the professional analysts. That's just my experience. And again, you and I, Jay, have to be prepared to do a show with no audience interaction, because some days and it doesn't mean people aren't listening or don't care. Some days there just isn't as much. Or the guy who tweets in every day or texts in every day, that's the day he can't get on his computer because he's at work or with his family or whatever. So you can't structure a show around, okay, let's just hear from the audience. That's part of it, but it can't be everything. And again, I hope people understand what I'm saying. It's not that I don't like hearing from people. It's not that I didn't like hearing from people on Overtime Open Line, but I don't know if that's the priority for the audience. I guess it was for that one guy, for the guy who tweeted.
Yeah.
That's fine. I would say he's in the minority.
And Haas is in the EST inbox. You nailed it, Reid. Abutsky in the EST inbox. Personally, I prefer to listen to the hosts regarding texts, etc. Open lines mostly lead to rambling, repetition, and awkwardness.
Okay, and that's another thing that I learned over the years is that I would cut people off. I tried to do it subtly and I tried to do it politely, but a lot of people aren't used to speaking on the radio. Yeah. I do it every day, and I make tons of mistakes, and there are tons of times I don't sound very good. And I would notice that somebody would call in, they'd have a really good point for 20 to 30 seconds, and they would just keep going and keep repeating it because they had a good point, and it was in their head, and they keep saying that good point, and Reid, I have a really good point, and listen to me. So at some point, I got to be like, okay, great, you said it. You didn't like that goal. You think this player's good. I got to jump in there and keep the show moving forward. And here's another thing to remember, Jay, and I know we got a break, and I know there's messages coming in. And everybody kind of remember this. Let's say I did a show, okay? And I took a lot of calls, and they're all terrible. They're all terrible. Incoherent, drunk, silly suggestions, mean, just call after call is just bad. And then the next day, I go into work, and my boss says, Reid, last night's show overall had a 0 rating. For the first time ever, that show barely registered a listener on any meters. And I can't say, the callers were bad. Yeah. It's my fault. If he says, you're the host, it's your job to control the show. If you're getting a series of bad calls and you feel like it's going to be one of those nights everybody's off the rails, you got to stop taking calls. So being in control of the show as a host is very, very important. And I really learned that over the years. And speaking of Overtime Open Line, Rob and I did it together 11 years. I would say it was year 5 by the time we really found a niche of how we wanted to do it and how we wanted to sound. And I'm not saying we stopped trying to improve, and I'm not saying we didn't have good shows before that, but that's how long it can take before you can really figure out, okay, this works. We need to hear from the coach early. We need to get Rob's 3 points or whatever for the game out there early. We need to hear from a key player in the game. Then we can start hearing from the audience because it just flows better that way, and that's what people want.
Yeah, and it, like I said, it's and having this here, I think Spency 5 cents, he said it in the nasty chat. The chat/text line is a good medium of letting people have their voices and letting you filter the trash out, right? So you can see if you're going to have a take and it's good, it's going to get on air. That's generally how it works.
I'll dive into that more, and I know there's more messages you want to read.
Can we? I believe the term is tease. Can we tease something here, Reid?
Yes, do it.
Okay, so coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, Reid is going to say open the tickle trunk. That's what I'm going to say whenever we're referencing something like this. Reid's going to open up the tickle trunk, and we're going to dive into. It's actually going to be Reid's top 3 presented by Food Sausage. Reid's top 3 memorable overtime open line calls, and he
too
gave
bad
me.
We can't use the audio.
Yeah. Some reason they won't give it to us.
Another station owns.
He didn't tell me much because we never like to share notes on this topic or this segment prior to, but I think it's going to be okay. Now, if you think that the ESD inbox and the nasty chat are the right way to go ahead and smash that thumbs up right now. And if you haven't subscribed to Edmonton Sports Talk on YouTube, go ahead and hit a subscribe for that. We've got the Ice Cube in the house coming up with a sports update right now.
Elks wide receiver Gavin Cobb and running back Javon Leake did not practice due to thigh issues today. And the Elks' next game is this Friday against the Bombers, where ESD will have a watch party live from the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for the action. Come on down, and the Reid Wilkins show is live from Fort Road that day, 3 to 5, leading into the Green and Gold kickoff show from 5 to 6. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. We'd like to see you down there. It was Commanders RB Austin Eckler being ruled out for Week 4 due to a concussion. Commanders play Sunday against the Cardinals. Packers quarterback Jordan Love was limited in practice, dealing with a knee injury which forced him out the last 2 games. Packers face the Vikings this Sunday. It's Oilers Jets tonight for some more preseason action. Puck drop for that goes at 6. And elsewhere, we got the Caps and Devils at 5, Panthers and the Lightning, along with the Canucks and the Flames. This sports update has been brought to you by Sit and Sleep. The wait is over. Sit and Sleep is now open. Celebrate with 20,000 square feet of savings on the trendiest furniture, home decor, and mattresses. Apply for your Sit and Sleep card today to make no payment for 18 months, interest-free. Right after the break, the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne continues here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm Zachary Kubish for your EST update.
At Mind360, we invite you to embark on your mental health journey in a safe and comfortable space. Conveniently located in St. Albert, Mind360 has a diverse team of experienced clinicians that offer a broad range of tailored services for children, adults, and families. Furthermore, we are very proud to serve our military, veterans, and first responders. If you're looking for counseling, treatment, or assessment, understand that you are not alone. Contact Mind360 at mind360.ca to book an appointment today.
Food Sausages makes their meat with nothing but the best local ingredients. From chicken, beef, and pork, their gluten-free sausages are packed with flavor. Every single bite. Get a 10% discount when mentioning Edmonton Sports Talk in-store or use the code EST when shopping online at foodsausages.ca. Plus, you get free delivery on orders of $100 or more. Find them at 6736 99th Street. Food Sausages. You can't beat our meat.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of The Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
Since 1952, William Huff has been the heartbeat of Edmonton's advertising world. From humble beginnings to a citywide powerhouse, we've been the go-to for signage from print to design and installation. Partnering with Edmonton's top sports franchises and major events, we've helped shape the city's global reputation. Our secret? Unmatched customer service, decades of experience, and a passion for excellence we call the William Huff Advantage. Visit us online at williamhuff.com.
We're more on this. All right, Oilers Jets at 6 o'clock. We'll talk a bit about that game later on. The Elks are in Winnipeg on Friday. Eugene Lewis, Elks receiver, scheduled to join us at around 20 after 4 this afternoon, Jay.
Okay, so before we carry on, this is obviously getting a lot of traction here, so we're gonna keep talking about it, the call-in feature or portion of some shows. But I do want to remind everybody, as Zach did, that we are going to be live on location at the Century Casino Sports Bar this Friday. From 3 to 5. Then the Green and Gold kickoff show is going to start with Maddie and I. Then it's an EST listener party to watch the Elks take on the Bombers in what is setting up to be a must win game for the Green and Gold. I do want to remind everybody that we are going to have a chicken wing eating challenge that I'm putting on. Thanks to Renee and the staff at Century Casino for setting this up. As of right now, and happy birthday on Friday, Bryce the Sparky is part of the Combine crew. He has put his name in the hat to be one of the competitors. So as of right now, I've got Bryce the Sparky, Dawson Nielsen. I'd like you to just double check in here because yesterday you said you would. I just want to make sure you can be there. Big Uke said he's in, and of course our dear Zacticum, the Ice Cube, is going to be competing in the Salt and Pepper Chicken Wing Challenge. So as of right now, if all 4 of those are in, 2 more spots available. If you're going to be there and you would like to smash a pound of chicken wings as fast as humanly possible, let me know in the nasty chat, and we can go from there. But Reid,
all right. So the last, sorry, I didn't note the name, but somebody said something about that having text and chat is a better way for the host to control what goes on air, right? And the word control there is not, you have to agree with us, but it's, there's some comments are, let's face it, everybody, some comments are more mature and more intelligent than others. And that's why Jay and I often say, you can write in, we want your opinion, we want your reaction, but just give us a why. Just saying, I hate this guy, I like this. Okay. tell us why. And so that's the thing about calls, especially on a show like Overtime Open Line, where some people would really take the losses really personally. As a host, it's a little terrifying to give control of the radio station to somebody who I don't know and who might use the F word, might say the poop word, might say something completely false about a player or try to start a rumor, right? Like after Game 7, somebody said something about, well, Connor lost. I guess you can go do meth now. We cut the guy off, but I mean, that gets it's stupid. So that's the thing. It's like if you went to a restaurant, you wouldn't want the waiter to come up and say, you know what? Every 10th meal, we let one of the other patrons of the restaurant cook for you. So you can order our special, but that guy over there, we're just going to let him go in and cook it. Yeah. It's time to let. So I appreciate that person said that they like callers. I don't know if we're ever going to take callers or have open line. I'm not adverse to it. I've done it.
Clearly, no.
I know how to do it.
People would turn us off.
I don't think that's the be all and end all to a talk show. And I don't, even if you don't specifically take phone calls, there's plenty of ways for people to interact. And again, the great thing with the Nasty Chat is to interact with each other.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this, is like you said earlier, Reid, the community behind it. These nasties get in a room together and they have so much to talk about, even if you haven't met the person in face to face. And we feel the same way towards our listeners. We know everybody in here that is constantly chiming into the show, and it's nice to when you can put a face to that name and say, "Oh, you're so and so." It really is. It's really unique, I must say. And the reason I asked that question initially, Reid, is because I do believe the phone call in is almost becoming obsolete. And if we were to put a poll up, hey, call in yes or no, 98% of the people here would say absolutely no.
Yeah, they might actually. I don't think. And again, it used to be, okay, I used to listen to John Short in the 80s. How else are you going to get a hold of him after a game or when he was doing, it wasn't Inside Sports then, the nightly show, whatever it was called. I guess you could send him a letter and he might read it 5 days after you wrote it. So it's not the only thing to do. But that, and again, it's not about like, oh, we're only going to pick things we like, but it's all, I found too, okay, so I'm looking at texts, okay? We got a hot topic on whatever show I'm hosting. 25 people are kind of saying the same thing. I don't need to read all 25. I read the best written one and say, and that's the sentiment a lot of people are sending in. That, to me, that's a much better way to do it than going through like Joe says, that was a great shot by Eberle. Tina says, wow, what a goal by Eberle. Instead, I'm reading, hey, Reid, really appreciated the goal Eberle scored the other night. I think he showed a lot of poise with the puck and showed that he's one of the best in the league at picking corners. Okay, that's a good text. And say, hey, and a lot of people celebrating Eberle's goal last night. Here's what Jordan said about it yesterday. I played the tape. Like, that's a much better and a better way to pace it and get to it and include people without, I'm just going to read 80 texts in a row for 5 minutes.
Well, and you get the sense of the appetite of your listeners and what is hitting hard with them and what is resonating by obviously who's commenting. I gotta get some of these because there's some really good ones. Dawson, I got it. That's good. Big Slam Nasty, I got you in. You're good. Way to be with Lars. Can't unteach stupid, Reid. It just comes naturally to some.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Brie Lando, and this has not been the only person to say. There's been several that the only person they would want to hear on a phone in on this station or on this show would be Atif.
Oh,
Wheels,
nice.
far hat. Yeah. Which I think that's so true. McLovin, callers just seem like pick-me's. You could say that in air quotes. Love to hear the sound of their own voice and are the center of the universe, which is what you've said, several times.
Now, I should say, there were some great connections through calling. Again, mostly on Overtime Open Line. People will, if they listen, they remember JP, the guy who did the French accent. And I saw Penner's Pancake mention it in the Nasty Chat. After the Oilers lost Game 1 the first time they played LA. What year was that? 2022, I think. And then he called in and said, they're going to win the next game 6-0. They did. They actually won the game 6-0. Which was pretty cool. But I didn't mind that some people tried to have a bit of a character or whatever. But again, it was still my job. Don't let it go on too long. It might be funny for 40 seconds. It's not funny for 4 minutes. I was always conscious of that. And that's one of the things I love about this job. And I hope I'm not getting too inside baseball for people. But I'm passionate about my work, and I really love it and all the subtleties and all the things that I think we do, Jay, that hopefully the audience doesn't realize, because they shouldn't. I mean, we should just be doing it. But I'm very concerned about pacing, right? So even though if I'm doing a live show, like it might seem like, oh, Reid wouldn't plan anything for Overtime Open Line. It's after a game. They just go in and do it. No, that's not the case. It was quite planned, though there is such a thing as planning on the fly or planning in a commercial break for the next segment or planning in the 10 to 15 minutes before the end of the game and when I would start Overtime Open Line. And that's one thing I would often get asked, well, do you get upset or do you get happy when the Oilers win? And I would say no, for a couple of reasons. Because I'm not a fan like you are asking me that. I want them to win because I live in Edmonton, and it's just kind of better for everybody if they're doing well. Everybody feels a little better. So yes, I want them to win, but my reaction is not emotional. But I also would explain to people, so when a game would end, I have to submit. I would usually write the story for 630ched.com. I'd be writing it throughout the game. I would have to submit that for vetting, and I'd have to send it to Brendan because he would add quotes. That's got to be finished almost immediately when the game ends. So I got to finish the final details. I got to send that off. Okay? How long are Bob and Cam talking, or how long are Bob and Jack talking? Does it seem like they're going to go quick today, or are they going to take longer? It takes me about 2 minutes, home games. It takes me about 2 minutes to walk down from the press box to Studio 99. Not a long time, but you got to do it. All right. Then I'm thinking, okay, so when exactly are we going to start? When am I going to have to take a news break? If the game ended at 9:35, if I start at 9:50, I won't do a 10 o'clock news. But if I start at 9:45, I will do a 10 o'clock news. What are we going to have for post? I wonder when Knobloch is going to be on it. Rob seemed interested in this during the second intermission. What happened in the third period? And we don't have time to plan that. I'm thinking all this. Where am I going to go? What's it going to make sense to transition about from one topic to the other? When are we going to get tape in? Is it worth having tape from the visiting team tonight because there might be a story there that's interesting to have a coach on? All that was going through my head, and all that I'm organizing and planning as I'm getting ready to host that show. Oh, and then, by the way, when Overtime Open Line starts, I have to sound like the most energetic, informed, attentive, ready to please you host that I could sound like with everything else in my head. So that's part of the reason why I wouldn't be crying over or celebrating the result of the Oilers game, is because I'd be thinking about all that other stuff. I hope that really didn't just bore people, but that's the beauty of the job.
And you showed me something today. You said, I wonder if I have some notes from that. And you showed me a page in your notebook of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yes.
And I honestly said to you, what did I say to you?
Well, I can't remember. It's very sloppy.
I said you should frame that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's almost like a piece of sports history. You should actually tweet that out. That would be funny, because it. And the reason you showed me that is we were discussing another topic to do with, interviews and whatnot. And you said to when you showed it to me, you said, Jay, that this looks like sloppy handwriting, discombobulated notes. It was messy, but to you knew exactly what that was and what it was saying. Those were your notes that you had written during the game that prepared you for the post-game show. I do the same thing while we're watching the Elks game at Century Casino, and it may not be a lot, but it's just in your brain, you know it. But it would be neat for, like I said, we're opening the tickle trunk here, so it might be something you'd throw out there on your social.
I've gotten down a lot of different avenues for one tweet about that someone won't listen until we start taking callers, but it's all sort of in that realm of audience interaction and host presentation and show presentation. But again, I mean, I wouldn't be against taking callers. I'm just saying you can't rely on callers, and you can't let callers, I was going to say take over the show, but that's also not true, because there were episodes of Inside Sports when it was 2 hours. I like, if a topic was humming and people were calling in and it was good and it was well paced, then I'm rolling with it. Right. But you can't rely on that every night. You have to know as a host when it's going to work and when people are, have interesting things to say.
Yeah. And, and another interesting comment coming in on the EST inbox. This is from Tube Socks. Agree wholeheartedly with the both of you. Phone calls are absolutely my least favorite part of any show. I enjoyed listening to, I won't say who, another show on another network here, and you would be familiar with Reid show occasionally, but it drives me nuts how he always wants to take phone calls instead of simply reading texts that have been selected and are on topic. Phone calls are the worst, to which he added earlier in caps locks, a la Joel, I don't want to listen to callers.
And here's another thing, and people have heard me say this before. Rob and I could have done 82 episodes of Overtime Open Line on referees, because somebody's always unhappy with the refereeing, right? So we would always be very selective. Okay, is there actually a call that we need to explain? And I'd go to the rule book. Or is there actually a call, either way, that we feel was so egregious it needs to be talked about? Because if we open the door to talk about, that's favorite topic number one for callers. I'm going to bitch about this ref because he's screwing my team over. And that show is not interesting over and over again. A couple times a year, it might be relevant. It might actually be,
if there's something
we got to talk about. And you and I have talked about PI.
Yeah.
But we're not just like, we hate refs. We're like, no, let's actually talk about PI and the call and the rule. And we read the rule.
I generally do hate refs for the most part. I've said that. I'm very outspoken about it.
That's so mean. See, that's mean. I'd say, if you were a caller, I'd be like, okay, Jay, thanks.
Yeah, beat it.
My op would know to hang up.
No. You know what? It is, and I get what you're saying about that, because it's not, okay, what are we doing here?
Right, and most other listeners would be like,
get over it. Move on.
Okay, you took a couple calls complaining about the refs. Yeah. Good. Those people got it off their chest. We don't need 20. All right. Well, that was cathartic for me. I hope everybody enjoyed that. 780-218-9999. I did get one email to read at edmontonsportstalk.com. Oh, no, I got somebody that...
somebody said they were going to write
disrespect soccer. Yeah.
A dissertation, on a 3,500 word dissertation on soccer or something like that.
Okay. Well, that's fine. We will have... Oh, this off-topic topic's going to be good.
I can't wait.
It's about failure, but a special kind of failure. And we have submissions from two of our colleagues. And I think people will have stories about this.
Tell them who the submissions are from.
Joaquin Gage and Lieutenant Eric.
There we go. Coming up.
Go ahead.
Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Conveniently located 10 minutes west of St. Albert, Wheeler's RV Storage will provide you with safe, secure storage for your RV, boat, or whatever you need to store. Open 7 days a week with gated keypad access and extra large stalls. Now is the time to take advantage of their limited time offer. Buy 6 months and get 1 month free. Now's the time to go to WheelersRVStorage.com. That's Wheeler's RV Storage. Safe, secure storage. Visit them today at WheelersRVStorage.com. If you've been injured in a car collision, let James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, protect your interests. They'll be there every step of the way to help answer your questions and help you get your life back on track. Trust Alberta's precedent-setting injury lawyers with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, call James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, 780-428-0088, or go to James JamesHBrown.com.
Gallo LLP is an Alberta-based accounting firm with expert chartered professional accountants in both our Edmonton and Sherwood Park accounting firms. Our experienced and innovative accountants provide financial advice that saves our clients money. Simply put, we help our clients protect their assets and grow their businesses. At Gallo LLP, they go beyond the numbers to ensure the continued success of your business. Reach out to Preet or John to discuss how they can help your business grow. Visit GalloLLP.ca today and see how they can help you take your business to the next level.
It's Oilers and the Jets tonight for some preseason action. Puck drop goes at 6. And elsewhere, it's the Caps against the Devils, Wild and the Stars, as well as the Red Wings and Blackhawks. The Caps kick it off against the Devils at 5 p.m. Elks wide receiver Gavin Cobb and running back Javon Leake did not practice today due to thigh issues. Elks' next game is Friday, and the entire EST crew has a watch party down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where the Reid Wilkins Show is live that day from 3 to 5, leading into the Green and Gold kickoff show from 5 to 6. The game starts right at 6 p.m. Commanders RB Austin Eckler has been ruled out for Week 4 due to concussion. Commanders play their next game Sunday against the Cardinals. In the MLB, the Jays look to avoid the sweep from the Red Sox. First pitch for that one goes just after 5, and a total of 15 games in the MLB. Today, it was the Mariners beating the Astros 8-1. We also got the Cubs and Phillies at 4:05. And the Rays and Tigers at 4:40. This sports update has been brought to you by Wheeler's RV Storage, conveniently located 5 minutes east of St. Albert. Wheeler's RV is your safe and secure place to store your RV, boat, or whatever it is you want to store. Visit them at wheelersrvstorage.com to take advantage of their limited time offer. Buy 6 months and get one free. Go to wheelersrvstorage.com today and get your storage needs taken care of. You're listening to The Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm Zachary Kubish for your EST update.
Good job, Coop. Oilers Jets tonight at 6. We'll talk about that as we move along. We have the Elks at Bombers on Friday, so our EST watch party is at Century Casino on Friday. Jay and I will do this show from there from 3 to 5. Then Jay and Awanak will do the Green and Gold kickoff show from 5 to 6, and then they'll be back on EST for the Green and Gold postgame show after the Elks play the Bombers. Huge game coming up. So the Chicago White Sox have lost 120 games. They have 5 left. The 1962 New York Mets lost 120 games. They went 40 on 120. So they had a couple, I guess, rainouts they didn't make up. So the White Sox winning percentage is .236. The Mets winning percentage that year was .250. So, Jay, for fun, I looked up the worst seasons ever in the other big 4 pro sports. And I also looked how long it took those craptacular teams to get good. So actually the 1962 Mets, the Mets won the World Series in 1969. In baseball, I mean, it's hard to make the play. The 62 Mets were a new team, right? The Charlotte Bobcats in the NBA in 2012, it was a shortened season because of a labor stoppage. Played 66 games. They had 7 wins and 59 losses. They won 10.6% of their games. That's pretty depressing. They did return to the playoffs in 2014, but they only have 2 playoff appearances and no series wins since that 2012 season. We've got to see twice NFL teams go 0-16. Okay, now we didn't count that Tampa Bay team that went 0-14 because they were an expansion team in the 70s. So the Detroit Lions went 0-16 in 2008. They were back in the playoffs in 2011. Cleveland went 0-16 in 2017. They were back in the playoffs in 2020. So they did recover fairly quickly. The expansion Washington Capitals in 74-75 went 8-67-5. This was the team that won one road game out of 40. They won their 38th road game, and this was the legend. They were parading around the dressing room holding garbage cans like the Stanley Cup. And the Capitals were not good. They did not make the playoffs until 1983. And you got to remember, like the NHL, it was 16 out of 21 teams got in, and it was 12 out of 16 or 17 for a while. So those were the... Now, for baseball, I should say you could go back to the 1890s. We decided not to go back to the days they weren't even wearing real gloves.
Yeah.
Traveling on planes and stuff like that.
Keep it somewhat close.
Close. So here's our off topic. I'm giggling at this because we could get some good, speaking of audience interaction. This is the off-topic topic presented by William Huff. Since 1952, William Huff has provided industry-leading graphics with design, print, and install, all in-house for thousands of valued clients. Their unparalleled customer service, combined with decades of industry expertise and a desire to make every job the very best it can be, is what they call the William Huff Advantage. Visit their website, williamhuff.com. Give them a shout at 780-454-4536. Please tell us, Nasties, what's the worst team you were ever on? It can be whatever, a team where you were 8, just a really bad team you remember being on that lost almost all the time. Share your pain with us. Share your embarrassment. It's okay.
Do you have anything specific or yourself?
I don't remember.
I know what it would like. As soon as you asked me that when we sat down together in the bullpen there, I said, "Yep, yeah, I know what I'm going to talk about on this one." And that was when I was in high school. The Bev Facey Falcons from 1996 to 1999 had a terrible football team. We stunk. In 3 years of high school football, I won 3 games. 1 game every year. And by my grade 12 year, it was almost a joke. Because every year I played on the junior team, then senior, and the senior.
Okay.
All 3 wins, 1 per year, keep in mind, came against Holy Trinity. All of them.
That's the school in Mill Woods, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only team we could beat. It was brutal. But, still have friends from that team. We laugh about it. We joke about it. So that would be the worst team I've ever been a part of, for sure.
Yeah, I've tried. I can't remember. A lot of my sporting past was before I turned 18. So I don't know if I can't remember what was the worst team I was on. Yeah, I guess for an individual sport, any round of golf, but that's not what we're asking for. Worst team you ever played on. Joaquin Gage. Here's what he wrote me. Reid, probably the worst team I played for is the Bellingham IceHawks. We had absolutely no scoring and non-existent defense. Somehow I managed to play 1 good game in Nanaimo while the Portland Winterhawks came to watch, and they made a trade for me for the next day for Shea Green. Have to say that put the Blazers over the top as they were able to go on and win their first Memorial Cup. That is Sir Joaquin Gage, who luckily got off the Bellingham IceHawks. We got to read Lieutenant Eric's. So, Lieutenant Eric from Saskatoon, as I'm sure people know, the Holt Bulldogs in a league of 4 teams. The other teams being the Babineau Warriors, the Arns Falcons, and the Tinkler Raiders. Winless, this is Lieutenant Eric's writing, winless for countless years prior to my 2-year stint. Lost every game over those 2 years as well, with the exception of tying the Babineau Warriors 7-7, a 7-7 tie. Eric wrote, other teams would routinely be stacked with hilltops and high schoolers as ringers, while the commish, he put in brackets, Fat Kelly, would constantly turn a blind eye to it all. We're gangsters running this league? I'm Fat Kelly.
Fat Kelly.
And then Eric says, much to the chagrin of our coaching staff, well, which was led by Clayton Turcotte, in brackets, former penitentiary guard termed amateur arm wrestler. This is a movie pitch. So it's a junior high football league where the teams are stacked against them. They got a former penitentiary guard as their coach, turned amateur arm wrestler, and the commissioner is named Fat Kelly. This is a movie pitch. So anyway, after they tied the Babino Warriors 7-7 for their only non-loss in at least a 4-year stretch, Eric says the team carried Coach Clayton to the rugby club fieldhouse post-game, to which we all indulged in hot chocolates that were not on the coach's tab, but rather made the parents pay. That's the final scene of the movie, them carrying the coach and getting hot chocolate. We got a tie.
Legendary.
That's
very
incredible.
Good. Yeah, there's quite a few coming in here, so I'm gonna try collect them and put them in a special place. I'll just read one here that came on in, from the real Not So Slim Shady. In grade 10, we lost 50-1 in ABJ in football in the regular season. But some of these turn around like this one. We later went on to beat them in the playoffs 13-10 and won the junior championship.
Well, so that was actually a good team.
AOB.
Without a bad loss. They had a bad moment. Yeah.
Rob chimes in and said, This is sometimes it's darkest before, what did they say? It's darkest,
darkest before the dawn.
Before the dawn.
Yes.
There you go, Reid. I can remember one of my last years playing indoor soccer. We played them each team twice. So 18 games in total. We lost our first 9 games.
Okay.
Then turned around in the second half season and won all 9 games. Think about that.
That's amazing.
That is a stat.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen very often.
Wow. Yeah, keep them coming in. This is good. And there's still a lot of discussion. Let me see if you would remember any of these names. Back to call-ins, right?
Okay, sure.
So Sirius Gord,
of course, yes.
Daily Doug.
Daily Doug was not much with me.
Okay.
Sirius Gord took me for lunch this summer.
A deal. And there was an older guy with a very calm voice, was regular caller back on TSN, all followed, and then they all went over to Chet as well.
Okay. There was a great caller we had for a while, Tom, I think it might have been Conklin, and he really liked Neil Yakupov. And then one day I had him as a guest on the show because he was had been around long enough. He reffed Edmonton Grads games at some point, and he passed away a few years ago. His son contacted me and said, "Hey, thanks for giving my dad a show to listen to, and just wanted to let you know he's gone." Yeah,
wow,
it was pretty touching, actually. Yeah, we had Daily Doug. He might have called into me a couple of times, and he kind of went away after I met him this summer too, or maybe during last season. But yeah, there were some regulars you got to know, and you got to know their personality, and they also understood. Well, sometimes you could let it be about them. If they were good callers and had the personality, you could let it be about them. But as a host, you'd have to know that they could handle it, or that they still understood that they would have to give the conch back at some point.
There are some. Oh man, this is good. This is sad. We can all share in our sadness together. Let's see here. Big Uke. My second year of Pee Wee hockey, we had enough guys to make 2 teams. So I made the A team. We had a rookie coach, volunteer, of course. They had just started tiering in our own league. I had some changes to the system that were yet to be made. So he says, in his opinion, we were tiered far too high. Lost every game, probably 25 to 30 games, and I think we only scored in about half of them. Funny enough, though, this wasn't the same year that I didn't score a goal. Remember, he sent in his story about how they put him in front of the net and tried banking pucks off him to get a goal?
Yes.
Wow. That must have been a year for you there, Big Uke.
Sorry, you had one?
Well, this one is very close to home. Tyler and Twilliger mentioned, go look at McEwen's men basketball record.
Oh.
And he sent in a screenshot.
Oh, tell me.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This is since they joined Can West, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably wish they didn't do that. Okay, so I'll go back 5 years, okay? So I'll go back to 2019 to 20. 2-18, 1-19, 0-16, 0-20, 0-20.
So they're currently on a 3-year losing streak, plus however many games from the previous year.
They've won 3 games in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, that's a big step up.
Gosh.
When I was doing the Bears and Pandas play-by-play, the Brandon women's team was notoriously bad, which was odd because the Brandon men's team was usually quite good. And there was one year the Brandon women rolled in, and I think they had something like 5 wins in the last 5 years and a couple winless seasons in there.
Brandon?
Yeah, the Brandon women.
The women,
yeah, because the men were usually quite
traditionally good. They usually have a bunch of.
Well, and Barnaby, the Bears coach, used to coach them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The Bobcats.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's tough because I know athletes are positive and confident and upbeat, but I mean there has to be there are points where, well, you know, we're 0-12 in a 20-game season. I'm not sure how we're making the playoffs. You're literally just trying to win one game. That was my goal for the Oilers when they started the season bad last year. Just win one game. Speaking of callers, when people would call in and talk about making the playoffs, I'd say, I'm not worried about the games in April right now. They need to win a game in November. One game. Prove you can win one.
That breaks your spirit.
Yeah, like with the Washington Capitals team.
Yeah.
So you're an expansion team. You get all the cast-offs from other teams. Like and I was talking to Gager about it off here earlier. He said, you know, you start games thinking maybe tonight's our night, you know, and you start feeling like, hey, I feel good. This is going to be our night tonight. But then when something goes wrong, you kind of know, oh, that's probably it, right? As opposed to better teams would be, okay, we didn't play very well. Something went off the rails, but we know we can get it back. Whereas opposed to like, well, we've already lost 90% of our games, and now we're down 2 touchdowns, 3 runs, 3 goals or whatever. we kind of know how this is going to end.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That is tough. You know, well, I hate to say it, but my brother-in-law just texted me, and it's true. It hurts my feelings.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it, but I have to. I have to step up to the plate and talk about hard things sometimes. Our Edmonton Wildcats are struggling right now.
I'm sorry to hear that.
They're terrible.
Oh, okay.
It's really bad. 2 years ago, they went 0-4. Last year, they won 1 game. And this year, they have not been able to put a game together. This year, they're having, been a tough time. An offensive line coach for them passed away tragically.
Yep.
Recently. So, obviously, there's a lot of other things on those players' minds right now. So, and I've been in close contact and in conversation with head coach Cash Woodrick, and yeah, it's tough times down there, but it's one of these things where you get into a state like that, and it's hard. It's hard to get to the top.
It is. It's hard.
It's hard to come out of the bottom, too.
Yeah, it is. Well,
and
we
it
saw
takes
that
time
with the Oilers too, right? Like,
yep.
You're constantly bringing in.
Doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
it does not happen overnight. I mean, look at the Golden Bears football team. Chris Morris
took a long time.
Some lean years there, right?
All right, we will have Eugene Lewis from your Edmonton Elks coming up. First, a sports update with Coop.
It's the Oilers Jets tonight for some more preseason action. Puck drop goes at 6 p.m. and elsewhere in the NHL. Tonight we see the Panthers against the Lightning, Red Wings against the Blackhawks, as well as the Wild and the Stars. The night for the NHL kicks off at 5 with the Blues against the Blue Jackets. Elks wide receiver Gavin Cobb and running back Javon Leake did not practice today due to thigh issues. And the Elks' next game is this Friday against the Blue Bombers. And make sure to head down to the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for an Edmonton Sports Talk watch party. Reid and Jay will be live 3 to 5 on the Reid Wilkins Show, lining up the Green and Gold kickoff show from 5 to 6, with the game starting at 6 o'clock. Chargers QB Justin Herbert was limited in practice. Herbert had x-rays on his ankle that came back clear. That, quote, showed he's progressing, as per Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh. Commanders running back Austin Eckler has been ruled out for Week 4 due to concussions. Commanders play their next game Sunday against the Cardinals. Right after the break, Elks wide receiver Eugene Lewis joins Reid and Jay on the Reid Wilkins Show. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date.
Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
You want the heavy hitters on your team, both on and off the ice. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the heavy hitters of injury law. James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers. With over 200 years of combined injury law experience, their precedent-setting lawyers are ready to help. Locally owned and proud Edmonton Oilers fans, James H. Brown and Associates wants to support you with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, head to jameshbrown.com.
Few of us can say that we're over 60 and still hot, but Mr. Mike's Burger can. And to celebrate over 60 years of Mr. Mike's famous burger, you're invited to taste history for only $8.99 at Mike Burger Madness. Savor the original flame-grilled Mike Burger on their signature garlic French loaf for a limited time. Dine-in only price of just $8.99. Sides extra. It's Mr. Mike's Mike Burger Madness, and you'd be mad to miss it. Offer ends Eat locally, enjoy casually.
GCL Diesel has been serving oil country since 1972. From diesel cars to SUVs to pickups. From farm tractors to school buses to a big rig. From diesel generators to forklifts, GCL can test, troubleshoot, and repair all diesel fuel system components. Whether it's injectors, pumps, turbos, filters, or additive, GCL has the parts you need to keep your diesel running the way it should. For genuine diesel parts at wholesale prices, visit GCL Diesel in the West End or GCLDiesel.com. GCL Diesel. Diesel understood.
All right, we are in the James H. Brown studio. James H. Brown, personal injury law firm, the heavy hitters of injury law with over 200 years of experience. James H. Brown will get you the settlement you deserve. Check them out online, jameshbrown.com. Book your private consultation today. Oilers at Jets tonight. We'll tee that one up for you in about 15 to 20 minutes. And, of course, on Friday, Elks at Blue Bombers. Big game for the Elks coming off the loss to Winnipeg on Saturday. And pleased to be joined by Elks receiver Eugene Lewis. You're on with Jay and Reid. Geno, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing? Thanks you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on the show. I know you're looking ahead to the next game, but I just want to put a capper on that last game for the audience here.
Yeah.
It was 3-0 at halftime, 10-10 early in the fourth quarter. What was it like playing in a game where yards and points were so hard to come by?
I mean, to be truthfully honest with you, I feel offensively we were moving the ball. We just had too many turnovers. One thing about the game of football, man, when you have turnovers and you have penalties, that is the recipe to lose a game. And you know what I mean. To be honest with you, being at halftime, that the score was what it was, and there was a situation that we were in after all the turnovers and stuff, and the penalties that we did have. I mean, that's also something for us to realize. Like, if we take away those type of things, the sky is really the limit for us.
You got a touchdown in that game off a flea flicker. Just wondering if you could take us through that whole process, hearing the play call in the huddle and then how it developed for you once you ran your pattern.
Yeah, so, for me, we worked on it the last couple of weeks, and, I kind of improvised a little bit because I really technically was supposed to keep it straight up the field, but when Trey's brother, he bid on the run from the very beginning, so I started fading that way, like towards the corner, And Trey had just enough time to to give me an opportunity. But those are the plays I live for, man. I'm always excited when those plays come around. When it's an opportunity for me to make a big play. I always get excited and try to do the best that I possibly can to help my team. But just going through the play, when I came down to see the guy who I was supposed to block, he was already down on the line. So I see that there was an opening, and I went to the open space, man. I went to the open space. Trey gave me a chance. I seen the safety, Alexander. I seen the ball kind of behind, and I realized that if I go get it like I usually do, or I'm more aggressive, I'm gonna have a chance. And once I caught it, Trey's brother, he kind of over pursued. I went back inside. I knew that it was going to happen, and finished off with a touchdown.
Eugene Lewis, Elks receiver, joining us. I'm gonna add one little question here before I get into my others, because it is topical in relation to that specific play. We talked about it here on the show. When I played football, I was a defensive back, and that was the worst throw a defensive back could ever have, was, as I call it, the dreaded underthrown ball. That was what happened there, and it gives a significant advantage, in my opinion, to you, the receiver. How do you feel about that, or the back shoulder pass, or the underthrown ball? Are you sneaky receivers really loving these throws, or what's the story here?
Yeah, well, I think it depends on what kind of receiver you are. I think for me, I've always been like a super vertical threat. So anytime I get a back shoulder, I know how to make it right. Like, you kind of got to late hands it or things like that. But I just feel as though as DB, like on those type of footballs that I had, the one that I had in the game for the flea flicker, I feel as though, if you're a little more aggressive, if you're more aggressive to the ball, I think the DB is probably in a better position. But if you have a receiver who is very perfectly at the back of the head of the DB, it's basically impossible to stop.
The three-headed monster that is the Elks running backs has been impressive, to say the least. Obviously, Javon Leake was not in the last game, not practicing right now. But with the running game coming into form this season, have you found that has opened up the passing game for your offense?
Yeah, I think it's opened up our whole offense in general. But I feel like in any offense, if you can get the running game and you can have that mentality of, we're going to run the ball and then we can throw, and you're successful at the running game, it opens up everything. It makes things easier for the quarterback. It makes things easier for the running back. It makes things easier for the offense line. It makes things easier for the receivers. So yeah, it's just those guys, they're playing really well right now. And that's what you want. You want to. We have good problems right now. We have so many guys at the running back position that can make something happen. So that's just a testimony to our team and them guys. Taking the coaching and taking practice and translating it to the game. And, I'm glad they're on my team.
Elks receiver Eugene Lewis joining us. Obviously, it's been the talk of the town this week. The quarterback change from Trey Ford to MBT. How do you and your teammates handle this inside the locker room?
At this point in time, it's already happened. So this isn't nothing new for us. Like, if this is what it is, whoever they call is next, that's what we just go out there and we play the game. At the end of the day, man, that's above a lot of guys' pay grades. So it's not about complaining or trying to say what is what. It's whoever is out there, we make it work for whoever is out there. And that's how I've always played. That's how I've been my whole career. So for me, whoever's out there, I'm going to try to make look good the best that I can, and I'm going to do my job. And just to give me an opportunity, and we're going to go get it. But, as a team-wise, it's part of football, man. This is competition. It's part of what it is, competing. Sometimes you have good games, sometimes you have bad games. You just being consistent is the hardest thing to do in football. You know what I mean? So when you can be consistent, you can consistently do it. It just makes your value go up.
Do you know that you're only 32 yards away from hitting the 6,000 career receiving yards milestone?
It's crazy. I didn't know. I knew I was near 6,000. I didn't know I was that close. But I knew I was in the fives. But this is awesome, man. It's just blessing, man. I just thank God for keeping me as healthy as He has been, throughout my career so far, and just looking to wish to keep that thing going, man. I'm trying to do everything I can to get in the Hall of Fame and win my team a Grey Cup.
All right. Well, and to do that this year, you guys, 5-9, you got to bank some wins here down the stretch, and you had a home and home against Calgary and a home against Winnipeg. Do you like the home and homes? Mm-hmm. Do you like preparing for the same opponents back-to-back. Is that interesting? Do you feel there's an advantage one way or the other? I'm just wondering how you look at those, because it's kind of unique that those happen in the CFL.
It's very unique. I think it just all depends. Like the situation that we had with Winnipeg, I think it's completely even because we both had a bye week at the exact same time. So like us playing back-to-back, I think it's fine. I think sometimes it's hard. It's difficult though. Sometimes it's difficult playing a team back-to-back because I think it's more harder when you win, because when you win, now that team that you just beat, they get to play you right away back-to-back. So it's like the second game is always tougher. You know what I mean? But that's just part of how it went personally this year. I think the way our situation has went as a team, it was perfect for us because it gives us the opportunity to be able to choose our own destiny. Like, you know what I mean? Now these games, if we win the games, we'll get in. If we lose the games, we're out. So at least at the end of the day, I'm just glad that, we're able to be the one to determine it.
All right. Well, Eugene, thanks for hopping on the show. It's always great to talk to you. You always have great insight and a good trip to Winnipeg, and go get a victory in Winnipeg. You guys really need one, and people are pulling for you for sure. Thanks a lot for checking in this afternoon.
Thanks. Thank you guys so much, man. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right, Eugene Lewis from your Edmonton Elks. So we covered off a few things there. The quarterback topic is one of the big discussion points, well, in the city, not just on this show. So he kind of said, I mean, look, and you knew he wasn't going to answer that and pick a side. I mean, even if he has a side, but he said, I got to get open and catch the ball, basically, and make plays. But he also alluded to, well, it's not the first time it's happened this year.
He has a side.
So he probably does.
100%.
He probably does if he had to pick one. And we're not going to, well.
No, you can't.
We don't know who it, we don't know.
You can't say who that would be, but
he's caught passes from both guys.
Yeah.
So, but as he said, internal competition is part of it. It's part of the world they live in. No, the quarterback position there's only one. I mean, as a receiver, you could get demoted but still be a starter and get a lot of passes.
Yeah.
But he's got guys who would love his job if they could get it. And
100%.
But you make a good point. And even Davis said it earlier. They're probably, as Davis Sanchez said, it doesn't mean there's a division in the locker room, but it probably everybody would have their preference if they had to pick a quarterback.
It's natural to happen throughout any sport.
Right.
I mean, if you ask Michael Jordan who was his favorite player, it'd probably be Scottie Pippen because they had that chemistry, right?
Right.
Steve Kerr was not the option all the time, but Steve Kerr also came up with huge shots at the right times.
Right.
It's a team sport. But of course, you feel more comfortable with some players, certain players. And, Eugene Lewis has been more effective with MBT at quarterback. They have more chemistry. He's definitely, tallied up more receiving yards with Macbeth at quarterback. So I would imagine he's not too worried about it. But he said it best. I mean, they can control their destiny still. They got to go get this win. Don't worry about the other teams. But if you can win out, if there's a way you could do that. 9,
and like I've been saying, 8 and 10 would get them in. I'm not. That's a little dicey, dicier now with the Saskatchewan victory. But yeah, if they got to 9 and 9, they would get in. But they got to win out to do that. What we didn't wind up talking about that play a lot because they lost. But I love the flea flicker call. Now, if it would have wound up in a sack and it was close, we wouldn't. But it was 2nd and 1. You would have got it out of the next play on an incompletion. And as we've talked about, it wasn't the best throw in the but I love the call. And they did that a couple times on short yardage last year with Corney almost faking the quarterback sneak and throwing it to AC Leonard. I love that call on 2nd and 1.
It's a situational play call. You're on the other side of you're in the opponent's side of the ball. Okay, you're on their side of the 50 or 55. You're 2nd and short. That is a play where you can, quote unquote, take a shot because you're more than likely to be able to pick up that 3rd down. And even if you don't pick up the 3rd down gamble after you've taken a shot, you're still on the other side of half.
Right.
So it's situationally the right part of the field to do it. It worked. And Tyrell Ford did bite hard on that fake run.
Yes.
I mean, if that safety was not as spry and smart as he was to get over there and cover Geno, because if that ball was thrown properly, that very well could have ended up.
He could have crawled into the end zone.
Yeah. Well,
if he leads Geno, because Ford did throw it off the back foot.
It was
the pressure was coming,
but it was a great throw because it was underthrown. The DB has no shot at that.
Well, and then
especially when you're in panic mode like that.
Well, and then he's waiting for it, and Geno did a great thing. I will just dance in front of you and jump. Because if Geno would have sort of stood behind him and jockeyed for it, it's probably not a pick, but it's a knockdown. So Geno made a smart play, and he's very confident jumping up for those balls. And that's another thing too, and you kind of asked Geno about this, and you've talked about it ad nauseum, the running game. 2nd and 1, everyone expects the Elks to run because they're a good running team.
Yeah.
I mean, Rankin's had a great game. The other two guys have had good runs and good games as well. So you're thinking, okay, well, of course they're just going to sneak it or hand it off.
Well, and it was a run play.
It was until it wasn't.
Till it wasn't. Oh, shoot.
Was there
retreat?
And I have always, because I know, speaking of callers and listener interaction, you always get they got to try a reverse. They got to try a triple. Why don't they ever call a trick play? But the higher level of football you go, the less likely those are to work. I mean, were you ever totally fooled, even in Canada West?
No,
you kind of sense something's up, don't you, at some point?
Not really, because, to be very honest with you, in Canada West football now, then when I played, it was mostly zone.
Okay.
So it didn't matter. The trickery really deflated by a team playing zone defense in the secondary because you're covering an area. You're not necessarily covering a man that's going through that area and exiting it. You're just sitting in your zone and trying to pick up who's in that area.
Okay.
So it wasn't as effective. But in the right place and the right time, yes, it can be like a gimmick play that can catch a team off guard. Like and that's what, like in the NFL now, with them not being able to do a short kick until the fourth quarter and it's announced, that stinks. I mean, that takes a lot of creativity from special teams. I love special teams fakes. I think they're underused. And you look at the Detroit Lions. They go for a lot of fourth downs, and the percentages are on their side to say, feel like a bunch of math stuff and all this stuff. But it's on their side. It's gaining them. It's getting them points, which leads to wins. Special teams fakes, like on field goal, punt. I mean, if you look at a punt, watch this in the game this week coming up. If you watch a punt, half the players, and it's not every time, I'd say half the punts, most of the players are already hooked up to a guy, blocking him, taking off downfield. If there was let's say there was a really athletic punter, the Patrick Mahomes of punting, that could spy that and say, okay, they're not even looking at me, and just take off and run. It could be a very effective part of your playbook.
That's an interesting thing. Some sprinter should become a punter.
Oh,
game changer.
Because everybody on the outside's gone. They don't even wait till the ball's kicked. But the players up front, usually they hold. And it's a designed play. There's either a block setup for a punt return, a hold setup, or an all-out, we're trying to get this punt. We're trying to block this punt. Most times, they're setting up for a block. So they're engaged with the player. And if you tell your team that knows that the punt fake is on, hey, hold on to this, play dumb and make it seem like you're getting really well blocked.
Right.
I think it's very underused.
And as we've seen this season, going for a block can be quite risky, because was it not Montreal that blocked one in Calgary? But even if you touch the ball, you still can't go into the kickers. Still can't go into the kicker. Touching the ball does not save you from a penalty.
That does, if it's blocked.
No, they gave Montreal a penalty in the game that ended in a tie a couple weeks ago.
I missed that.
Yeah, the Montreal blocked it, but still went into the Calgary kicker's plant leg and knocked him down. So it still got.
It must have been.
I think it's roughing the kicker. I don't know if they call contacting.
Yeah, contacting and roughing are.
But you still have to block across the front of the kicker. You can't just. It's kind of like now in hockey. If you dive and hit the puck first and trip a guy, that doesn't save you anymore. You still get a tripping penalty. Anyway, good to have Geno Lewis on the show. It is very close to a must-win for the Elks in Winnipeg.
Oh, it's not very close.
Especially, well,
it is.
Here's the scenario. Like I was saying last week, you wanted to cheer for Calgary to beat Saskatchewan. They didn't. You need Ottawa to win in Saskatchewan. Very, very
Which
badly.
can happen.
And as a bonus, it'd be nice if Hamilton won in BC. Here's a perfect weekend for the Elks.
Yeah.
Elks win. Tiger Cats win. Red Blacks win. And then I guess you could say Montreal beats Toronto, because then there would still be a bit of crossover drama for Edmonton and Toronto. So you would need, you would want every road team to win, which just happened this past week. Could that happen 2 weeks in a row? That's what the Elks need.
Dash in the Nasty Chat says, I played varsity floor hockey with John Ryan, who was on our show here a few weeks ago. Former Regina Ram, Green Bay Packer, Seattle Seahawk, Edmonton Eskimo. At the University of Regina, he is fast as hell. And yeah, I mean, well, remember, I told the story to John when we had the interview, and I said, I remember playing against you because you were not, like, you were a good punter, but you were equally good, if not better, as a receiver. He scored the longest touchdown in Regina Rams history, right? 106-yard play. He led the team in 2003 in receptions and receiving yards.
But then in the NFL, you're all of a sudden not so fast.
Well, remember I asked him, I'm like, did you ever take any reps, try flex on the guys and show him your receiver? He's, no.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Hey, punter, you have your own field. Beat it.
Just go punt.
Be gone.
We'll call you when we need you. We are going to tee up tonight's game between the Oilers and the Jets. We'll get to my top three as well, presented by Food Sausage. It's the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Blue Jays shortstop Bo Bichette is scheduled to undergo surgery to address his fractured finger. Jays manager Joe Snyder says there's no return date for Bichette, but expects him to be ready for spring training. With 15 games on in the MLB tonight, the Jays try and avoid the series sweep from the Red Sox. First pitch for the Blue Jays goes just after 5, and right now it's the Cubs against the Phillies. The Phillies up 3-0 at the end of the second, while it's 0-0 as the game just started between the Rays and the Tigers. The Oilers face off against the Jets tonight for preseason action. Face-off is at 6. Elsewhere, we got the Caps and Devils, Canucks and Flames, and the Kings and Golden Knights, with the action kicking off at 5 o'clock. Elks wide receiver Gavin Cobb and running back Javon Leake did not practice due to thigh issues. Make sure to come down to the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge this Friday for the Elks' next game, which will be an EST watch party. The Reid Wilkins Show will be live 3 to 5, leading into the Green and Gold kickoff show before the game at 6 o'clock. Just after the break, the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne continues right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date.
Your brand deserves more than just a whisper, it deserves a buzz. At the Hive Product Marketing, they specialize in promotional products that bring the buzz. From eye-catching giveaways to unforgettable keepsakes, they got the perfect products to make your brand stand out and get noticed. Visit the Hive Product Marketing and let them create the buzz your business deserves. The Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk. Visit them online at thehiveproductmarketing.com.
It's crunch time for your taste buds, because for a limited time, A&W is collaborating with Ruffles to bring you the Ruffles Crunch Teen Burger, your favorite teen burger, and your favorite Ruffles cheddar and sour cream chips, combined into one unique taste sensation. It's grass-fed beef. It's one-of-a-kind ridges and crunch. Try it in all its teen burger glory, or crunch into its equally tasty sidekick, the Ruffles Crunch Buddy Burger, for just $4.99. Try one today at your neighborhood A&W.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki as a ninja fighting off evil samurai.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road, parkmazda.ca.
Since 1952, William Huff has been the heartbeat of Edmonton's advertising world. From humble beginnings to a citywide powerhouse, we've been the go-to for signage from print to design and installation. Partnering with Edmonton's top sports franchises and major events, we've helped shape the city's global reputation. Our secret? Unmatched customer service, decades of experience, and a passion for excellence we call the William Huff Advantage. Visit us online at williamhuff.com.
Close together. All right, thanks for joining us this afternoon. We're with you until 6 o'clock. We're with you, as Zach was saying, at Century Casino on Friday. The show will be shortened to 2 hours. Well, for me, you keep going from 5 to 6 with Matt on the Green and Gold Kickoff Show. EST watch party for the Elks and Bombers.
Reluctantly, I do, Reid. Reluctantly, I do. No, just kidding.
What's that?
I said reluctantly with Maddie.
You guys love each other.
We do. We're best friends.
So here's a perfect weekend for the Elks, the way I see it. Elks win, obviously. That's the first game of the week. Hamilton wins Friday night in BC. Ottawa wins Saturday afternoon in Saskatchewan. And Montreal wins in Toronto, though that one maybe not quite as vital if the other three happen. But that's a perfect weekend for the Elks. Calgary has the bye week, so they will have a rare week in which they do not lose. That's so mean. The Elks are only 1 point ahead of them, but playing much better lately. All right. Well, what was somebody saying? Can you, Zach, can you give me a little more volume? Something's gone a little goofy here. Well, me.
That's a fact. Relsta said, "Hey, Reid, if they ever tell the EST story, and think of this, the EST story being told at Metro Cinema at the Garneau Theater, you should get Michael Emerson to play your role." Now, I showed you this in the break, and you said that this was a fellow from Lost.
He played Ben Linus on Lost. That's the role I know him from. I believe, was he not also in Person of Interest, which I think was a popular show? He is 70 years of age.
He is that person in the picture is 70 years old.
Michael Emerson is 70.
Wow, he looks great.
Yeah, I guess he could play younger. I'm 50. There will be I assume a miniseries sometime about Edmonton Sports Talk.
And we are in the hunt. We are in the hunt for 100 likes here on this episode of the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne, live from Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Reid, to get into our next topic, which is going to be Oil Understood. Ooh, I'll just say it's the next segment, okay? I don't want to take it away from you because you do such a great job of it. Gary from Winnipeg says, very disappointing that the Oilers are not playing their major stars in tonight's game versus the Winnipeg Jets. And then he says, prediction for Friday's football game, the Bombers will blow out the Elks on Friday.
Well,
there will be no doinks in this game.
I'm worried about that.
Says Gary from Winnipeg.
Well, I am worried about that. As you know, it is time for the Oil Understood for GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around. From turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors, they are the critical engine component experts. Proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years, and now a proud partner of Edmonton Sports Talk and the Reid Wilkins Show. GCL Diesel. Diesel understood. Gary. You've watched preseason hockey before. What lineup did you expect tonight? It's the Oilers' fourth preseason game out of 8. I would say generally the first half of the preseason around the NHL, the road team is sending the sacrificial lamb lineup. Now that, Calgary, I guess, had Huberdeau here and some other good players on Monday, and they did win. They won both games convincingly. Let's look at basing this lineup off the players who didn't skate today. I don't think they ever really put out line combinations, but they said the players who will travel will not skate. Hoffman, Lane Peterson, Arvidsson, Janmark, Philp, Connor Brown, Savoy, Hamlin, Seth Griffith, Kajula, Sam O'Reilly, Derek Ryan, Kulak, Emberson, Deneen, Carrick, Hoffenmeyer, Warner on defense, Skinner, and Delia in net. Yes, the Winnipeg lineup is much better. Most of their NHL team, I guess, just by looking at it. So I'm sorry, Gary. I don't know what else to tell you. I'll apologize on behalf of the Oilers organization, even though I don't have to do that.
Well, and this is traditionally, on a road game.
Yeah.
That you're not going to send out Connor.
Not at this point. They don't need to. Yeah, they don't need to play. I will say this. Let's though. All joking aside, there are storylines, and that we've been talking about. Amberson's going to play. Let's see how he does. Right? If he's got to defend Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde, or if he's got to go up against Lowry for a puck battle down low, let's see how he does. Let's see how he defends Ehlers off the rush. Let's see. And I think we have to circle back to this player, Jay. Noah Philp's going to play again.
Yep.
I think that is a good sign. Because I think there's a whole bunch of different ways to look at it. Hey, Connor and Leon, what makes you feel ready? 3 games, 4 games? How do you want to pace? I guess with the split squad game, they kind of had to play on Monday. I don't know if ideally they would have wanted to play that early in the preseason. Skinner's going to play tonight, so you're getting the Oilers' number 1 goalie, Gary, so that's good. But with Noah Philp, I think that's great he's playing again. I think that's a sign of a good camp, because I think they want to say, all right, let's go see if he can do it again. He's pretty good through 2 games. Let's see if he can go out there and do it again. So I put some stock in that. I'm going to watch him tonight. I mean, I'll drive home after. I'll probably miss half the first period by the time I get home to stream it, but see most of the game. So I want to have an eye on Philp. Savoy, I mean, he's not going to be on the roster, on the Oilers roster this season, or at least certainly not to start the year, but let's see how he does. Let's against pretty much the Jets defense. I mean, Morrissey, DeMello, Pionk's playing, Stanley's playing again. Let's see how he does. So there's 3 names right there. So, Gary, if you're going to the game, okay, I know you're not going to see Connor McDavid. We'll evaluate Noah Philp.
Yeah, give us some feedback.
Take a look at Savoy. Take a look at
Hoffenmeyer.
I know somebody said yesterday Hoffenmeyer is going to be on the team. I think that's unlikely, though I do think he's a good minor league defenseman. But and so here's the thing, Jay. We've told Noah Philp's story. U of A Golden Bear, good season in Bakersfield, plus especially the second half of the year. Takes a year off for personal reasons, so he started skating during that season. Seems energized. I think he's looked solid. He's got some good size. He gets involved in the play. I think he can think the game fairly well. He made some good passes, or at least pass attempts in the first couple of games. So I think if you're on the NHL staff, you want to get that information. So I realize Gary might be saying in Winnipeg, well, who's Noah Philp? I'm saying in Edmonton, great, let's see Noah Philp against 3/4 of the Winnipeg Jets or whatever. And also, let's see how he does 3 games in 4 nights. A couple home games, and now flying into Winnipeg today and playing. So I think that's a real positive for him, because I think he's one of those. There's a whole bunch of different things in the preseason. Like I'm saying, with some of the vets, the stars, when do you want to play? What's comfortable for you? How hard are you going to push it? But I think with a player such as Philp, they can say, all right, let's see how you handle it. Let's put you in as stressful a situation as there can be, halfway through the preseason. And Derek Ryan is playing. Have we not talked about, is that the succession plan?
100%.
Ryan into Philp? Golden Bear replace Golden Bear? I know it's not quite that.
I think Oilers fans would take the size of Philp over the size of Derek Ryan. Obviously.
Yeah.
Big body.
Yeah.
But there's no question that they're looking to see that. Here's a question I have for you. Do you think behind the scenes that the Oilers and the Winnipeg Jets have already known, maybe not for days, but with good enough time to take this information and use it to your team's advantage? Do you think they're trading rosters? Do you think they're...
No, God, no.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
So the Winnipeg Jets aren't saying, hey, we're dressing a pretty much our team.
No, that wouldn't happen.
Now,
I think coaches could make assumptions about the strength of the lineup, but no, I don't think they don't plan anything. No.
But don't you see, is this not a little early in the preseason schedule for the Jets to be essentially playing their starting?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know how many Jets, if they're playing 6 or 8. The Oilers are one of the, I believe most teams only play 6.
Somebody in the nasty chat said the Jets only have 6 preseason games. That was,
and I think this is
Matt
already their 4th. Oh no! So they played Minnesota. They played the Oilers Sunday. They play Oilers today. They play Minnesota on Friday, and then they play Calgary back-to-back October 2nd and 4th. So yeah, they're only playing 6 games. So no, with 4 to go and a home game, so they want to get some of these guys into action. So in that case, no, it wouldn't be a little early. Plus, let's face it, like they can do whatever they want, really. But no, they don't plan the lineups. I think generally we know earlier in the preseason you might be more likely to see a better team at home. Don't make the vets travel, give them a comfortable game with matchups and all that kind of stuff. But I guess I don't worry too much about that. I suppose I just kind of expect it at this point. But again, those are the storylines for me. Those 3 players. Philp, Emberson, and Savoy. So Emberson's going to be on the team to start the year. I don't think Savoy will be in the NHL this year, but let's see how he can do. Now, Philp, to me, maybe he comes up at some point. Well, what a story it would be if he got a spot off the start of the year. I'm not sure I'm ready to have that conversation yet, but good for him to be in the lineup tonight. I really want to see what he can do. I don't know who his wingers are going to be. I haven't seen any projected line combinations. Who would you have? I mean, Peterson's a decent AHL player. Do you have him with Hoffman and Arvidsson maybe? Maybe Phillips with Janmark and Brown. He just takes Henrique's spot there. Would you leave those 2 wingers together?
That would be the most
coaching?
likely situation looking at this year, yeah.
I mean, of course, they can rotate during the game as well. But there are storylines. And Gary, I'm sorry. And Gary, my worry pants are pulled up for the Elks in Winnipeg. Though, as Geno said, the team that lost the first half of the back-to-back might be a little angrier. Though that didn't help Calgary in the Labor Day rematch.
Well, and fair to say, I mean, the Oilers have 8 preseason games.
It's too many.
Yeah.
I think most teams, I'm not going to go through every schedule, everybody. I'm sorry. I think most teams play 6. And I think the rule is you have to play at least 6. The Oilers still play 8, which I think is too many.
Phyllis chimes in the nasty chat as well, Reid, just to get, talking about this younger, some would say a youthful roster, but there is still a handful of older AHL guys playing for the Oilers. Guys, but she's from Winnipeg or Manitoba anyhow. I don't know exactly where she's from. She could be from Dauphin. You never know. We had just 2 rookies and 3rd and 4th liners for games 1 and 2. Our lines have not played a single game together until tonight. I'm expecting a sloppy game from the Jets.
Oh, she's in Winnipeg as well? Okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, because I'm not totally up to date on what they were doing. Yeah, so I mean, it's not as if they're going out there firing on all cylinders either. And again, that McDavid, Hyman, and Nuge line the other night was good, but they also, especially McDavid, it almost looked a little experimental at times. Oh, I know in this situation I'd usually shoot. I'm going to try this pass and see if it'll work. So, yeah, I mean, you never know what to expect for sure. This hour of the show has been presented by Alberta Tutoring. Locally owned and operated, Alberta Tutoring offers certified Alberta teachers who know the curriculum and what their students need to learn. Specializing in high school math, physics, and science, their skilled tutors can meet with students virtually while offering flexible scheduling. And right now, take advantage of their limited time offer. Enter promo code EST and get 40% off your first session. Visit albertatutoring.ca and book your local experienced tutor. We will have the EST farm report. We'll have a little more on the Oilers and Elks and my top 3 for food sausages. My top 3 most memorable calls from Overtime Open Line.
Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Convenient Conveniently located 10 minutes west of St. Albert, Wheeler's RV Storage will provide you with safe, secure storage for your RV, boat, or whatever you need to store. Open 7 days a week with gated keypad access and extra large stalls. Now is the time to take advantage of their limited time offer. Buy 6 months and get 1 month free. Now's the time to go to WheelersRVStorage.com. That's Wheeler's RV Storage. Safe, secure storage. Visit them today at WheelersRVStorage.com.
Food Sausages makes their meat with nothing but the best local ingredients. From chicken, beef, and pork, their gluten-free sausages are packed with flavor. Every single bite. Get a 10% discount when mentioning Edmonton Sports Talk in-store or use the code EST when shopping online at foodsausages.ca. Plus, you get free delivery on orders of $100 or more. Find them at 6736 99th Street. Food Sausages. You can't beat our meat.
If you've been injured in a car collision, let James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, protect your interests. They'll be there every step of the way to help answer your questions and help you get your life back on track. Trust Alberta's precedent-setting injury lawyers with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, call James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, 780-428-0088, or go to jameshbrown.com.
Blue Jays shortstop Bo Bichette is scheduled to undergo surgery to address his fractured finger. Jays manager Joe Snyder says there's no return date for Bichette, though he expects him to be ready for spring training. There's 15 games on in the MLB today. The Jays trying to avoid the series sweep from the Red Sox in one of them. First pitch is just after 5, and right now it's the Royals against the Nationals. 0-0 is the score. Brewers lead the Pirates 1-0, and Tigers are up 2-0 against the Rays. Stuart Skinner gets a start for the Oilers in this preseason game against the Jets. Face-off is at 6. And elsewhere, we got the Caps and Devils, Panthers, Lightning, and Red Wings, and Blackhawks, with the Devils Caps kicking it off at 5. Elks wide receiver Gavin Cobb and running back Javon Leake did not practice due to thigh issues. The Elks' next game is Friday, and EST is holding a watch party down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for that one. The Reid Wilkins Show live 3 to 5 on location, leading into the Green and Gold kickoff show with Matthew Wannick and Jay Milne to get you set for the action that goes at 6 p.m. It's Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever meeting the Connecticut Sun in WNBA playoff action. Tip-off is at 5:30. This sports update has been brought to you by Sit and Sleep. The wait is now over. Sit and Sleep is open. Celebrate with 20,000 square feet of savings on the trendiest furniture, home decor, and mattresses. Apply for your Sit and Sleep card today to make no payment for 18 months, interest-free. The Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne continues now. I'm Zachary Kubish, and that was your EST Update.
What's going on? Hope you're having a great afternoon. 5:03 along with Jay Milne. I'm Reid Wilkins. Zach Kubish along for the ride as well. 780-218-9999 is the EST inbox. You can also email Reid at edmontonsportstalk.com. Jump into the nasty chat on YouTube. Do you have anything you want to do on the worst team you ever on, or do you want to save that?
No, I can read a couple here that came in.
So that was our off-topic topic for William Huff as we await the White Sox likely becoming the losingest team in Major League Baseball history. The worst team you ever on.
Dan Spence said, all my football team. All my football
my
teams.
whole life.
Minor football and Moose Jaw, the Stamps. Never won a game. And then W.P. Wagner, his first year in senior, we lost all the games. That's That's terrible, Dan. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Tough.
Mark in Lethbridge, this one's easy. I love volleyball and went to a school that was an absolute non-factor in the volleyball scene. Maybe got lucky and picked up 1 win per year. Icing on the cake was losing to the eventual provincial winners 25-3. I earned us 1 point, and they missed 2 serves for the other.
Oh my,
that's bad.
That's tough.
That's bad.
But he remembers how they scored their points.
Yeah, that really means it. It really stuck with you there. And Norman at Combine said the same. And there's a couple. There's some real awful teams in lacrosse, I must say, because there was quite a few that came in talking about lacrosse. Norman at Combine says St. Albert Miners Junior A team had only 1 win in 2 years at one stretch. Garen was in net and Bryce scored the winner. Happy Dad Day. Ha ha ha. Those are his sons he's referring to, who I've got confirmation will be at the EST listener party for the Elks Winnipeg game on Friday. 3 to 5, Reid and I will have the show live on location from the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. And then Maddie and I will do the Green and Gold kickoff show.
It's going to be good. Big game.
And we'll just fight and argue like an old married couple.
Is that what you are?
We've been referred to that several times. Yeah. Naturally.
Don't young married couples fight?
Yeah, but it's the bickering, and it's more, like
more.
I think a young couple will
history.
fight, and then they'll say, "Look, okay, I was wrong. You're right. Let's make up."
Have you ever said I was wrong? You're right.
Several times.
Oh, really? Did you mean it?
Well,
I hope you're listening.
Yeah,
April.
Every time.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Okay, so we're gonna do my top 3. It's presented by Food Sausage, the best sausages you will ever eat. Locally made, packed full of flavor. Order online or visit them in store, 6736 99th Street. Take advantage of their EST discount. 10% off your order by entering online code EST or mentioning Edmonton Sports Talk in store. Free delivery in Edmonton on orders over $100. As Food Sausage says, you can't beat our meat. So we were talking earlier about open line, about call-in shows, which has been part of my work history for the last decade or so. We did get a tweet yesterday from someone who said, I won't listen until you have callers. It was Reid's magic sauce at Ched. It's what makes the Dan Patrick Show. There are lots and lots of talking head shows and podcasts out there, all who abandon callers. Let's hear from your community. Well, most people didn't agree with the spirit of that tweet in general. I mean, there's some nuance, I suppose. But we have plenty of audience in there. By the way, there are a lot of quote-unquote podcasts that aren't live. So they wouldn't be able to take calls anyway, right?
Most
thing that's
live.
like, and that's what when people say to me, it's like, oh, you do a podcast. It's like, no, I actually do a live show that gets podcast after the fact, which is also what happened at Ched. So I'm going to do my top 3 memorable callers from Overtime Open Line. Okay?
Little trip down memory lane.
Trip down memory lane. There were a lot of them. And I'm going to pick my top 3. I might do them in, I don't know which one to start with. Well, I'll start with this one because I think people who listen will remember this guy because he went through a phase where he called a lot to the point that we almost couldn't put him on every show because he was entertaining, but also a little annoying and also a little meandering and rambling where you just needed him like, okay, what are you actually calling in to say? Scott in Boston. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I'm going to do 2 calls for him. So all of a sudden, this guy, Scott in Boston, calls. And it's like, you're actually an Oilers fan in Boston. So we established he's an Oilers fan in Boston, and he says he loves the team and loves Gretzky and all these guys, even though he didn't sound nearly old enough to have watched those people, whatever. And he would watch or follow the games and call in after. Okay, great. So he wanted to call up the fighter from the minors. Like he had his go-to things that were okay, whatever. So a couple of things with him. So you may remember in 20 and I want to clarify here. He claimed to be like an Oilers super fan. He followed the team. He watched all the games. He knew the players. He knew the history. Like he knew living in Boston, he was representing oil country. So this was late in the 2018-19 season. It was not a good year. They fired McClellan. Hitch came in. They played well for a while, and then they dropped off. And it was, kind of death march time in March and April. Now, you have to remember, in in 2016-17, they made the playoffs and then were not good again in 2018 and in 2019. Okay.
Yeah.
So Scott called in and he was angry. He was angry at how bad the team was doing, and they're so bad and they're going to miss the playoffs. And he goes, it is a shame. It is a travesty that Connor McDavid has never played a playoff game. That Connor McDavid has never been on the postseason stage. And I was like, okay, dude, like, you want to be critical of this season, like, 12 or 13 years out of the playoffs, like, that's fine. But factually, what you just said is wrong. No, what are you talking about? Connor McDavid has never been in the play. And remember, his claim was he watches every Oilers game. This is less than 2 years after they had played playoff games. So I always remember that one. That he was just outraged that Connor McDavid had never played in the postseason. It had actually happened less than 2 years prior. So the other thing with him was, and I think this just happened this past year. So and I was talking earlier about the pacing of a show, and I knew if Boston was on, it was gonna get probably weird and off the rails. So even sometimes if he would call in early or be third in line, I would tell my op, we're not gonna take Scott, but he's gonna go maybe later. And he would usually hold. He didn't care. He never complained. He would usually hold. So he called in, and we go to him, and he'd probably been holding a while, probably half an hour. Here we go, Scott in Boston. How are you doing, buddy? Scott, are you there? Snoring. He'd fallen asleep, and it was... I admit, if I were listening to that, I would think that's a setup. They staged that.
Right.
We didn't stage it. That's exactly what happened. Scott from Boston fell asleep on hold, and I went to bring him in, and we heard snoring. It was too perfect.
Oh, my gosh, that is so funny.
He never called again. So Scott from Boston stories gets the number one.
Do you think he was embarrassed, or do you think he felt slighted?
I think he just lost interest. He went through a phase where he called a lot, and then we didn't hear from him for a while, and then he briefly came back, and then he was, I think that when he snored, he might have called once earlier that season. So I think he was whatever, not like, well, obviously he wasn't that consistent a fan if he didn't know they'd been in the playoffs too.
Yes.
So yeah, I think he just maybe lost interest or had other things to do, or other things were going on in his life, or maybe was a little all over the place. So
that's lovely. That's a good.
So that would be my number one.
Story.
Two stories from Scott from Boston. I remember another night, and I have a lot from when the Oilers were struggling.
Sure.
And I should say there are times people might have done something, but they were trolling or being silly on purpose. But I'm trying to pick ones that where I think the person was legitimate. So it was a Saturday night game. I don't remember what season it was. It might have still been into the Decade of Darkness. And the Oilers were not doing very good. And it was after midnight, and this gentleman called in, and I think he'd consumed something or smoked something. And he said, I'm listening to the show, and you had that one guy saying that this is the problem, and then another guy called in and said this is the problem, and then Reid, you said that this is the problem, and then Rob Brown says that this is the problem, and I'm hearing all these people, but no one will ever say the truth. And he kind of stopped talking, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give this guy his time here. I said, okay, well, what's the truth? Exactly. I was like, okay, you got it. You spelled it out. Thank you.
Yeah. Block that number, please. Jeepers.
And then I struggled to come up with a third one because, again, there were some that were obviously calling, maybe trolling a little bit. And I don't want to give them the outright mean people too much time. But I remember, so McClellan was coaching, and they made the playoffs right in his second season, but the first year they still weren't very good. And this guy called in quite angry, and the coach has to do something. They has to inspire them. Like it's just that they're, when a guy said that, Rob and I would always, challenge it a little bit. It's like, okay, well, what is the problem? Like, what do you think he should do? Like, okay, let's look at the roster. Like, would another coach do a better job? Like, let's actually try to talk about this. So anyway, this guy's solution was that McClellan should take hockey sticks into the shower and throw sticks at them while they're showering. That would be the motivator.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, we should do that to Lieutenant Eric to get him going in the morning. We'll do that to Matt.
Just come in and start throwing sticks into the studio.
Start throwing sticks at them. So again, with that guy, I don't know if he had perhaps consumed something or just was upset that we were asking for some details. Like, okay, well, how do you want the coach to motivate them? Like, how do you see that they're not motivated? So that was the solution: throwing sticks at wet, naked men.
Could be worse things that get thrown at, but was there a vetting process that was done? Like, because
that's the challenge, right?
People would consume things or drink things, and you're just coming off you're hot off an Oilers game. There's people that like to enjoy and consume things during Oilers games.
Well, and that's the challenge, because you do want the show to be inclusive in terms of you want people to feel like they can call. And to be fair, there was a gentleman that called in that has cerebral palsy. And so he spoke he slurred when he spoke.
Right.
And I would often get messages like, "Oh, I can't believe you let this drunk guy on." And I like, well, he's not. We're letting him talk on the radio. Like, this is cool. He's calling in, right? There was a vetting process. Now, to be fair, I mean, it was often Kellen that was taking the calls. He's sometimes busy. He might be getting tape in. There might be 4 people calling at once, so he's just got to be like, "Hey, what's your name? Okay, hold. Okay, what's your name? Okay, hold."
Yeah.
Now, the computer system allowed you to block numbers in terms of they would have like the hazard sign on it, and you could put a note like,
"Don't take this call."
Said this on air, or is drunk, or will just run people down. Doesn't have anything to say. But having said that, sometimes stuff is going to happen, or people will lie about what they want to talk about. So yes, there was somewhat of a vetting process, but as I was saying earlier, sometimes it's just terrifying. You're giving the airwaves to somebody else, and you don't know what they're going to do. Problems like that were few and far between. I guess they tend to stand out when they happen, but in the grand scheme of things, they were few and far between. But yeah, if somebody, for me, swearing, you might get a warning if it was, the S word or a word that maybe isn't too bad. But if you dropped an F-bomb, I'm like, you're done. Like, you can't say that.
Yeah.
We're not going to put you on the show again.
Yeah. A couple people have chimed in here, whether it be in the EST inbox or on the Nasty Chat. And I'm just going to mention a couple names here to see if, obviously, you would recall them. Okay. I think CLB and Airdrie says, "Come on, Reid, let's get down to brass tacks here. Can't forget about JP."
Yeah, that's JP.
Yeah, okay.
Well, but I didn't include him as any of his calls as memorable. I mentioned the one where he correctly predicted 6-0. He was just generally funny.
Yeah.
And usually he wouldn't go on too long. He'd make a joke about drinking wine. He had a running gag about trying to get Rob Brown's autograph and Rob ignoring him, which actually wasn't really true.
Yeah.
Of course, I think most people knew that. And he referenced drinking whiskey, and he would call players like he used to. If he would call about Josh Archibald, he'd be like, I love the Archibald, But yeah, JP, a memorable caller, but I didn't pick any of his calls as an individual one.
And then Peter's in the Nasty Chat says, "Whatever happened to TW?"
TW didn't call me that much. I think he called Dan more, like from that era. He called...
This is the Warrior?
Yeah, I don't even know if I would have got a half dozen calls from him over 11 years. I think he called more from Dan's era before me, I think. But see, it is interesting how people know the callers.
Oh, for sure.
And they think they're still... TW called the last season, maybe once or twice, but I didn't hear from him. I didn't hear from him that much. Exactly. What's the truth? Exactly.
That would be an awkward one.
Yeah, that was. Well, you just move on. Just like, okay, just move on.
But there was a sense, and somebody mentioned it earlier in the Nasty Chat, and we briefly touched on it, but there was part of the lore of having a call-in show back in the day was that you'd hope you'd be listening when you'd catch the guy that was drunk.
Yes.
And hear him stumbling over his words and saying really crazy thoughts, but it was just kind of funny. It's like when you're at the bar and your buddy's had too many and it's just not quite making sense.
And I agree. There's a comedic value to an extent. And you said that off air that like, well, I remember you doing it and this drunk guy called in and it was funny. And I was like, yes, I get that. But is the fourth drunk guy funny? Probably not. By that point, you're like, okay, it's just drunks. And so that's what I would be thinking at the time. Like, okay, there's the one drunk guy. Maybe we'd have a laugh at him or with him or whatever, and then you move on. But you want the show to become that? I would say no, I didn't. I wanted it to still primarily be a hockey show.
Yeah,
post-game show. All right, what is this? This is an afternoon show. We're with you until 6. We will have an EST Farm Report. We'll get to more of your contributions in the inbox and in the Nasty Chat. Here comes the Coupe.
Stuart Skinner gets the start for the Oilers tonight in preseason action against the Jets. Face-off is at 6. Elsewhere, the Caps and Devils are midway through the first. 0-0 as a score, along with the Blue Jackets and Blues 0-0 as well. But it was the Panthers putting up a 2-0 up against the Lightning right now with over 14 minutes to go in the first period. Elks wide receiver Gavin Cobb and running back Javon Leake did not practice due to thigh issues. The Elks' next game is Friday against the Blue Bombers at 6 o'clock. And for the game, EST is holding a watch party down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where the Reid Wilkins Show from 3 to 5 will be live on location, as well as the Green and Gold Kickoff Show from 5 to 6, leading you right to kickoff. Blue Jays shortstop Bo Bichette is scheduled to undergo surgery to fix his fractured finger. Jays manager Joe Schneider said there's no return date for Bichette, though he expects him to be ready for spring training. With 15 games in the MLB, the Jays trying to avoid the series sweep from the Red Sox. First pitch for that one is right at 5, and now in the MLB, the Tigers are up 2-0. The Orioles are up 3-0, and the Royals up 1-0 against the Nationals. Right after the break, the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne continues on this lovely Wednesday. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date.
It's crunch time for your taste buds, because for a limited time, A&W is collaborating with Ruffles to bring you the Ruffles Crunch Teen Burger, your favorite teen burger, and your favorite Ruffles cheddar and sour cream chips, combined into one unique taste sensation. It's grass-fed beef. It's one-of-a-kind ridges and crunch. Try it in all its teen burger glory, or crunch into its equally tasty sidekick, the Ruffles Crunch Buddy Burger, for just $4.99. Try one today at your neighborhood A&W.
Come get your game on at The Ranch. The Ranch lets it all hang out with a championship caliber design, premier conditions, and above all, a fun laid-back experience. Get top-notch service and unmatched value every time you play at The Ranch. Think you have what it takes to go low? The best value for your golfing buck is always The Ranch. The Ranch Golf and Country Club. 10, 50, 100, and 200 round packs on sale. TheRanchGolf.com.
Celebrate the grand opening of Sit and Sleep and discover a revolutionary way to shop for mattresses. Stop in today for a free pressure point scan using cutting-edge technology so sleepologists can identify the perfect mattress for you. Right now, you'll get free local delivery on any mattress over $5.99 and receive a bamboo cooling mattress protector. Get grand opening savings now with every mattress on sale. Join us on location today for the celebrations at Sit and Sleep in South Common next to Planet Fitness.
Edmonton Sports Talk delivers a mass audience of key, influential customers to your business, all while you associate your company brand with the biggest names, the hottest sports news, and teams from every league around the globe. Oilers and Elks, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the association, Formula One, soccer, golf. Oh, sweet mama! The excitement is palatable on Edmonton Sports Talk. It's where fans go to get their sports fix and where our partners find the most loyal consumers. Contact us today and see how our team on Edmonton Sports Talk can score the biggest goals for your business. With various advertising options available, email business@edmontonsportstalk.com or head to our website and send a message at edmontonsportstalk.com.
Oilers Jets coming up at 6 o'clock. We'll keep an eye on that one. Elks Bombers on Friday. Reid Wilkins show with Jay Milne. Jane, how are you doing?
Stealth Legends in the Nasty Chat, who has come out and said that he was Tony. Reid and I called in quite a bit in Overtime Open.
I know exactly who Tony is. We enjoyed hearing from you, and thank you for consuming my show here.
Yes, he's consuming a lot of you.
Keep consuming me, Tony. We are the Donner Party of sports radio. Are they the people that ate each other?
No.
Oh, what did the Donner Party do?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Cannibalism.
Donners?
Consuming. Wasn't the Donner Party? Isn't that
like? Is this a political party?
No. The.
That's a cartoon.
No, I'm thinking of something else. Wasn't there some I don't know. I was thinking of some. No, it's not a political party. It's not a political party at all.
No, Donner Party is a real thing. The party was trapped by exceptionally heavy snow in Syria, Nevada, blah, blah, blah. When food ran out, some members of the group started consuming each other.
Wasn't there a movie about like this where the plane crashed on the mountain and then they had to eat each other?
Yes. I don't know what that was.
Somebody will know.
There's a movie called The Donner Party.
Everybody's saying it's Dahmer. It's Jeffrey Dahmer.
No, Jeffrey Dahmer was the serial killer.
We're not talking about
There was a
Jeffrey
movie
Dahmer.
called Alive, 1993. That is based on a true story. I'm not sure there's any cannibalism in that one. Well, this show took a turn. Get used to it, everybody.
Up next, Reid's top 3 cannibalists.
People are going to be like, go back to talking about the X-Men. Go back to talking about the X-Men.
Give me a phone line now.
Yeah, people will be calling you now.
Alive, yes. The movie was Alive.
Was there cannibalism in that one? Okay.
Yeah, they ate each other to stay alive.
Oh, wow.
Hello. No, spoiler alert.
We just ruined a 31-year-old movie. Sorry, everybody. Do you ever, I still find that, I guess I'm getting old. Because, when you're actually getting old, you don't think that you're just living. But now I think, oh, yeah. The movie Seven's one of my favorite movies. Came out 94, 95. I know several people who I get along with through work or whatever, they weren't born. So you're talking about movies, and I'm like, oh, you've seen Seven, eh?
Zach, what year were you born?
What are you talking about?
03. And Seven is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, so you have seen it.
I love that movie.
But I used to, so here's the thing. If I met somebody between the ages of 45 and 55, and they hadn't seen Seven, I would be upset. And so, if someone tells me I haven't seen Seven, that irritates me. But then I have to remember I can't get irritated at a 28-year-old for not having seen Seven. It came out before they were born.
Alive came out in 1993.
I don't think I've seen it. Wasn't it about
It details a Uruguayan rugby team's crash aboard Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 into the Andes Mountains on October 13th, 1972.
So do they kill each other or just eat parts of their body?
No, I think, spoiler alert, I believe what happened was some of the players had died on impact. If I'm not mistaken.
So they consumed the already...
they died of being, the temperature, being cold and And I believe that was part of the plot, was that they did do that.
Okay. Well, you got to tell the story as it was told, as it happened.
Yeah,
I guess.
If you have any stories about this,
that'll be our off-topic topic. All right. Yes, Seven's a good movie. Brad
Reid,
Pitt.
I wanted to talk to you about
I'm
something.
hijacking your time.
No. It's okay. It's okay. Do you know what, if I was to say the term nil, do you know what that means?
None.
Nil, it does mean none. It means zero. It means nada. But in NCAA, it means something totally different. It means name, image, and likeness.
Okay.
Athletes now are able to receive compensation from the universities that they attend and play sports for the university's continued use of their name, image, and likeness. Likeness mostly coming in the form of NCAA football and the likes of that. Okay? I mean, Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, starting quarterback for the Colorado Buffaloes, I believe is making $4 million a year in nil money.
That much, eh?
Yes. Arch Manning of the Manning family, not Peyton or Eli's son. It's
Cooper's kid.
Cooper's kid
Right.
he's now just got promoted to starting quarterback for the Texas Longhorns. I believe he was making somewhere around $3 million a year. So nil is here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, I that's not really the point of this conversation. Something came up here, and it's kind of dominated the NCAA landscape because it is, I guess, one of the dangers of nil or what can happen. Because, okay, let's put it this way. Brandon Ayuk for the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
He wanted to restructure his contract. He was undervalued based on his numbers from last year.
Right.
He held out of training camp until they came up with a new deal.
Right.
That's what players in the NFL do.
You cannot do that in hockey.
Matthew Sluka, starting quarterback from UNLV. He transferred to UNLV, has led this team to a 3-0 start, and they're beating teams that they shouldn't be beating. He's putting up massive numbers, and they're now a contender for the college football playoff, which means that school, if they made the college football playoff, would receive an incredible amount of money from the revenue share of the broadcast. He has now come out and said that he is sitting out the remainder of the season. There's 8 games left in the season. He is sitting out the remainder of the season because of a name and image and likeness conflict. Him and his lawyer say that UNLV assistant coach, they won't name who it was.
Okay.
An unnamed UNLV assistant coach promised Matthew $100,000 in nil money. Matthew couldn't sign anything because he was still with his old school at the time before he transferred. There's no signed document. Okay. Keep this in mind. This is their lawyer and Matthew saying, no. They told us this. They told us they were going to give us $100,000. UNLV is denying this, outright denying it, saying, no, this is made up. And what I guess the media is saying now, or what is kind of coming out, is that this student athlete is deciding to hold out.
Right.
Mid-season. Force the hand of the UNLV running Rebels.
Well, but the school's not paying them. The
school, yes, absolutely. The money comes from...
I thought they could get licensing agreements, but they're not getting paid. They're still not paid as employees, right?
They're not paid as employees, but where is it here? It's the company that runs UNLV's Nil Collective, which would be responsible for paying school athletes.
Okay.
Acknowledged there was no signed agreement between the player and the organization for $100,000.
So somebody runs it, but the players still aren't paid by the school directly. They're paid through licensing agreements.
It's a collective that is shared with all the NCAA schools, I believe. And UNLV, like I say, they are denying this. And what it's leading the conversation to is, and Kirby Smart, the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
He said he had quite a conversation about it, but the nuts and bolts of it was that this is not the last time this is going to happen.
No, for sure.
And this is problematic. if you're going to do that, this is, and so what he's saying is, look, I've delivered you a 3-0 team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing out of my mind. The only thing that he actually was supposed to get as far as compensation was $3,000 payment.
Right.
That's all that they can find in the actual details. Now this player's holding out in the hopes of getting $100,000. And that's just, that's a slippery slope. I want to get your take on it because, we talked about it this morning.
Yeah.
The topic of the idea of nil was maybe not foreign, but it wasn't, it's not in your wheelhouse, I would say. But this is danger.
Okay, well, first of all, I think that these athletes should be able to market themselves, even while they're going to school. And I know there's the risk of shady things happening or whatever, but the NCAA and the schools make so much money off the athletes playing well and marketing them that the athletes should be able to put their, as it's called, name, image, and likeness out there and try to make money, right? So if a shoe company wants an athlete to wear his shoes and make commercials, they should be able to do that. I don't know exactly what all the rules are. But yes, now this is alarming. If an athlete could say, I should be making more because I'm a better player than I was when I signed for this, then that's going to affect how the school does and how perhaps he is perceived as he goes through his career. But yeah, I still think it's positive. It was silly. It's a billion-dollar business, all the NCAA sports.
I know, but counter argument or counterpoint would be to say, what if UNLV did have this verbal conversation? What if they did, when the coach was recruiting this quarterback, say, yeah, we're going to get you $100,000 nil, and they knew that they weren't having anything
so the
documented.
promises like this, right?
Yeah. So that's what Kirby Smart said. It's going to happen more and more, and it's going to happen even more as we move into this revenue share where I feel unless there's a contract and there's a set contract where person A has to stay a certain amount of time or they're going to have to pay back this contract, we're never going to get to where we want to go to.
Right.
Right? Young people, sign the contract. Put it in writing.
Well, that's what they're going to have to do.
Yeah.
And I guess there's concern that even when they do this, there's still going to be ways around it and ways to do shady things.
Yeah, it's just it's a tough situation. It's a tough look. This the nil program, the nil incentive was touted as a huge victory for the student athletes, and I agree. I'm in support of that. If your school is selling all your merch that you're the players promoting it, yes. Well, yeah, you should receive a kickback.
I agree.
Now, on the other side, Shedeur Sanders is driving a $800,000 luxury car to practice every day.
Right.
That's a tough look. That's just a little aggressive. But you're giving millions and millions of dollars to kids. What do you expect?
Well, that they would buy a nice car. Though his dad could have bought him a nice car. Anyway, this whole NCAA stuff and them being amateur, I guess it is amateur, but it's always been. And how many schools have been? Didn't Michigan with the Fab Five have to vacate the second place finish? It's not on the record as them being there anymore. Was it the USC team with Reggie Bush had to vacate the national title from 05 or 06 because stuff went on? I remember even John Wooden said once, I probably violated NCAA rules because I had kids over for supper.
Yeah,
I would,
that's just silly.
Yeah, that's
just
the
same
silly.
as Jim Harbaugh got
right.
Suspended because he bought a kid a burger.
Right.
Come on. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And Reggie Bush, has he got his Heisman back? Did he?
I think that was taken away. That's
I know it was taken away, but
did he get it reinstated? I don't know if he did.
I think, yeah. 14 years after Reggie Bush
but if
got
you
his
were
Heisman.
when you played for the U of A, if you're all over posters and they're using your likeness with Chevy to say we're giving away a free Chevy at halftime, come see All-Star Jay Milne, you would have got nothing for that.
Well, you'd at least want to get your school paid for, right? That's
most. Did you have a scholarship?
I was part of the first years that Canada West and U Sports, it was called CIS back then, but
right.
U Sports could offer full ride scholarships. So yeah, I did.
Yeah.
They couldn't pay for your books at that time, but they could pay for all your schooling.
But not everybody on the team would be on scholarship.
No.
Right.
No.
Whereas I think almost
a handful
would be.
Well, now, like we've talked to Chris Morris about it, they've gotten to the point where they've run enough camps in the offseason where they have the scholarship money. And as you all know from listening to the Reid Wilkins show with Jay Milne on Edmonton Sports Talk, you know that when you're an All-Canadian, when you're a academic All-Canadian, that money that they pay to you in scholarship, that does not go against the scholarship cap. So if you have, like the Bears do, 30 academic All-Canadians, none of that scholarship money for an academic All-Canadian goes towards the cap. Because they can only spend a certain amount of, I think it's $180,000 or something that they can spend on scholarships. But that does not go against that. So essentially, you can offer 60 scholarships, which is your entire travel roster.
Right. Okay.
Is capable of getting.
So that's why the schools will always publicize how many academic All-Canadians they had.
It is very important to the success of your team.
So they want you. So were you under pressure to keep your marks up? Was there heavy scrutiny?
Yeah, I mean, you can if your marks are subpar, you can go it's on what's called academic probation, and you're under close watch then. But if you want to fail, you fail, and you're not on the team. You have to be in good standing with your grades to be able to play. But yeah, academic probation. It was a list you didn't want to have show up on your coach's desk.
Right. So, but the whole myth of like, oh yeah, they just take basket weaving 101 and never go to classes, like that wasn't your experience, obviously.
Not at all.
Like you would have been off the team if you started
flunking.
flunking.
There were a couple guys that weren't probably taking it seriously and were just getting by.
Mm-hmm.
But most people there wanted to use football as a vessel to get an education and get a degree.
Right. Because again, most of them don't go pro, even if they're really good.
Very, very few.
How many CFLers did you play with? Or against, I guess. John Ryan.
3, I think, went to the CFL. Mark Schatz, Jared Winkle, and Andrew Ginther.
Sorry, who are the...
Mark Schatz played for the Eskimos.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Jared Winkle played for the Eskimos and the Bombers.
Right.
And Andrew Ginther played for the Stampeders. He had a cup of coffee there.
I don't remember him at all. And then you played against John Ryan.
Against John Ryan. Yeah. Sandy Beveridge played at UBC safety when I was playing.
Great name. And both of it is spelled B-E-V and then Ridge, like a hill or like a
Ridge.
Okay. I don't know how we got talking about that. But that NCAA story is interesting, so I'm glad you brought that up. But I still think they should be. You've played the NCAA video games, and it's like I had NCAA football like 08 or 09 or something, and Matt Ryan was still Boston College. Like Matt Ryan's on the cover, but if you play Boston College in the game, he's like QB number 14, or they'll generate random names.
Yeah.
So he's Sam Table or something.
Arch Manning would not let EA Sports in the new NCAA football. He would not let them use his name and likeness.
Oh, I didn't know that. How come?
He held out. He didn't want it. I don't know why. He was one person that was adamantly against it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe he thinks video games corrupt children. All right.
True.
Speaking of corrupted children, here's Zach Kubish.
Wow, thanks, Reid. Stuart Skinner gets a start for the Oilers tonight in preseason action against the Jets. Face-off for that is at 6. And right now in the NHL, it's the Panthers up 2-1 against the Lightning. The Devils lead the Caps 1-0. And the Blue Jackets and Blues are tied at 0-0. The Blue Jays shortstop Bo Bichette is scheduled to undergo surgery to fix his fractured finger. Jays manager Joe Schneider says there's no return date for Bichette, though he expects him to be ready for spring training. With 15 games in the MLB right now, the Jays try and avoid the series sweep from the Red Sox. And in the game, as it stands at the top of the third, it's 0-0. Other games see the Orioles up 3-0 against the Yankees, the Tigers leading the Rays 3-1, and the Guardians up 2-0 against the Reds. Right after the break, it's the final segment of the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. I'm Zachary Kubish, and that was your EST Update.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of The Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
At Mind360, we invite you to embark on your mental health journey in a safe and comfortable space. Conveniently located in St. Albert, Mind360 has a diverse team of experienced clinicians that offer a broad range of tailored services for children, adults, and families. Furthermore, we are very proud to serve our military, veterans, and first responders. If you're looking for counseling, treatment, or assessment, understand that you are not alone. Contact Mind360 at mind360.ca to book an appointment today.
Gallo LLP is an Alberta-based accounting firm with expert chartered professional accountants in both our Edmonton and Sherwood Park accounting firms. Our experienced and innovative accountants provide financial advice that saves our clients money. Simply put, we help our clients protect their assets and grow their businesses. At Gallo LLP, they go beyond the numbers to ensure the continued success of your business. Reach out to Preet or John to discuss how they can help your business grow. Visit gallollp.ca today and see how they can help you take your business to the next level.
You've always known GCL Diesel as the experts in diesel fuel systems, but did you know that GCL is also your source for turbochargers and turbo repair? As a turbo supplier for Garrett, Borg Warner, and Wholesat, GCL can provide genuine original equipment turbos at wholesale prices. Whether it's diesel, gas, natural gas, or performance, we can provide you with the turbo or custom repair you require. Turbo questions? We've got turbo answers. Visit us in the West End or online at gcldiesel.com. GCL Diesel, turbochargers, understood.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon. Been a fun show. We've been talking about call-in shows. We've been teeing up the Oilers and the Jets. We had Geno Lewis from the Elks on. We had Davis Sanchez from TSN on the show. We had the off-topic topic as the worst team you ever played on. That was more of a downer. I thought it might be
sad. Yeah.
I thought it might be fun bad team stories, but it was just like no, miserable. Though we did have a couple people say I was on a bad team and then we won a game or beat somebody, which was kind of fun. I guess.
Alberta Shank says, BS, they get scholarships. That's enough.
Fair enough.
It's a fair point. I mean, that's what Canadian university athletes and college athletes get at best. This was a deal that was struck in the Supreme Court of the USA. This went as high as it possibly could, and players fought for it for quite a while. And interestingly enough, it led to the reinstatement of the Heisman Trophy for Reggie Bush.
So he did get it back?
He did. Because they said that the landscape of college football has transformed dramatically since then. So it's, one of those things that, go back and see, okay, maybe that was a little aggressive. WNBA is on right now. So Rob from LA.
Oh, nice.
Yes, Zach, where is my influence on this WNBA, okay? We're going to be the WNBA show of EST, other than, when Jasmine's on the Hangout. She likes to talk a lot of WNBA, a lot of NBA. Joe from Stoney says, number one issue is most of the athletes will never make substantial money from sport and will likely have lifelong injuries, while NIL only rewards the athletes that are very likely to make big bucks anyways. That is true. That is actually absolutely true. And Nate the Builder chimed in on our discussion about the movie Alive. He said, dudes froze to death and then the other dudes ate them. Tragic. Nate the Builder.
That's the whole story.
That's it. Yeah.
That's awesome. But yes, I think they ate the previously deceased people from the plane crash.
Yeah,
I was reading some of them. Not all of them were comfortable doing that.
So currently the Indiana Fever is up on the Connecticut Sun, 13-6. That is a must-win for the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark. And later this evening, the Mercury take on the Lynx.
There was a story, quickly before we go to the farm, there was a Guy Ritchie film about Ravenous, about cannibalism, where it made you superpowered or something like that. Was it Guy Ritchie or Guy Pearce, the actor?
That when you ate somebody, you gained superpowers?
Well, it made you powerful or something, yeah.
Huh. Interesting. If you have any last minute of our off-topic was the worst teams that you were ever a part of, please send them in. A couple from earlier that I didn't get to. Relsta, middle school gym teacher, told us we were all the worst discus, javelin, and shot putting group he's ever seen. That's just rude.
Yeah, that's awful.
And Ernie, the first year of high school football I played, we didn't score a touchdown until the 7th game in the 4th quarter. We were already down 28 points in that game. When we scored, the whole team rushed the field to celebrate like we won a championship.
It's like Colorado beating Baylor in overtime.
There you go. Congrats. Well done. Well done.
It is memorable. Like when you're so bad, you remember that one touchdown. That's pretty cool.
Well, that would have been their Super Bowl.
That would have been it. Yeah, we scored. We got one. We got 6 points at once. We didn't need 6 rouges.
Well, and it is something to say. Like when you're that bad and you're struggling that bad, it's the little small things that make worlds of difference, right?
All right. We have the EST Farm Report featuring Jay Milne and family and property.
Well, I might take on a little bit of Castor 1990. He's obviously big in our EST inbox in the nasty chat. I believe he will be at Century Casino for the listener party. He said that portions of this could also be called "What the Duck."
Oh, that's nice,
right? I don't mind that, Ken. I think we can roll with that. So yes. Right here, we've got a little thing. I sent this to Reid this morning. We usually chat in the mornings about, the goings-ons in the sporting world and kind of starting the basic framework of a show. And I sent him this, and I said, "This is what's going on currently at my house." And for those of you watching at YouTube, and by the way, hammer that thumbs up. We are in striking distance of 100, so let's get there in the last.
Yeah, we want to get 100 likes a day.
9 minutes of the show. Oh, we're 2 away. We're 2 away.
Like it on YouTube, everybody.
So as I've told before, my mother-in-law is building a garden suite on the property, and the footage there that Zachary was putting
Can we roll
up
it again? There we go.
Is the construction crew, excavation crew, demolishing the landscape a wee bit. There were some trees that were going to be needing to move in order to place said garden suite in, and the fellas came over this morning and made very quick work of that.
Now, where was the duck while this was going on?
The duck was safe and secure.
It was
inside
not under one of the trees that was being ripped out of the ground.
It was no bird nest, no wildlife was harmed in the removal of these. Yeah, I'd probably get a lot of backlash from that. And then we did have the duck is growing. The duck is growing every day.
Oh, do we have duck stuff too?
What the
well,
duck?
This is my lucky day.
Yeah. So right there, as you can see, the girls have decided we have a measuring stick in our house, like to chart how tall the girls are getting. And if you were to come over, Reid, when you come over, we're going to measure you. Please do. We're going to put you on the big board. That is the girls measuring Daisy the duck. As you can see, it is growing. Yeah, it's almost to the bottom of the board. It's almost as tall as the base. Well, it's a little taller than the baseboard. So that's good. And then, God bless my wife. She was working her little tail off today because last I checked, we're expecting some rain tomorrow. So she was in the skid steer all day, stacking away all the hay bales in the hay shed so that they don't get wet. So to that, I owe you a sincere thank you, April. You've done a great job. Appreciate it. And a beautiful job stacking those bales, keeping them dry.
Okay, what does the duck eat again?
Duck food.
You get that at the pet store? I need some duck food.
You do, actually. You can get it at PV Mart, UFA, G&E Pharmacy on the south side. It's a poultry layer ration is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
So there's different varieties of duck food. This is a layer ration. So we like kind of crunch it up so it's smaller for the baby duck. All it does is 3 things. Well, 4 things. Drinks, eats, expels said food.
Yes.
And squawks and chirps. A lot.
How long till it lives outside?
Probably a couple more weeks, I'd say.
Right when it gets really cold.
Well, there's a duck shed with a heat lamp and straw, and it's best for it to be outside. But It's fun. It's overtaken our house. It's a great little thing for the girls to
How long till they get bored of it?
Well, my
Or is
middle
it
daughter
already
Rose
happening?
especially has taken a liking to it, and it's that's the first thing she wants to hold when she comes home. The first thing she looks at wants to find when she wakes up.
Yeah.
And so the duck sleeps in the basement. It's dark down there.
Okay.
And we can't hear it.
Oh, wait, but it's sleeping by itself now.
Yeah, it's grown up. It's in the basement. It's got its own room.
It's got the basement to
Yeah.
itself.
So
It's got
if
a
the
duck cave.
If the duck wants to stay up late and watch movies or whatever, it's not disrupting any of us upstairs from getting a good night's sleep.
To flash back to a previous off-topic movie that you have to watch when it's on. I watched almost all of Ghostbusters last night, where it was on in the background while I was doing stuff.
Yeah, that was a great
that's a good one.
topic.
But Ghostbusters is 40 years old, everybody.
Remarkable.
Yeah, and it looked a little grainy, even as it was being shown on the widescreen TV.
Sure.
Yeah, well, it wasn't shot in high def or digital or anything like that. Ghostbusters is a good film.
Oh, it's a great.
Has Slimer in it.
It's a great film.
And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Honestly, I've never seen it.
Okay. Well,
Zach almost fell out of his chair.
We now have a problem, everybody.
Ice Cube, are
We
you
now
okay?
have a problem.
Well, you were talking about...
You were only 2, though, when it came out.
I know, but it's
You
like
were
one of those
still-
iconic movies
Yeah.
that everybody seemed to see except me.
Well, it's like Indiana Jones at that point almost, where it's like there's certain movies where I think everyone should watch at least once, and Ghostbusters is very high on that list. So when you're talking about earlier how there's certain movies that you can't get annoyed at people for because they weren't really around for it, and you brought up 7. I've watched 7, but I've watched Ghostbusters. I've never watched any of the second or, one of the newer Ghostbusters movies or anything like that, but the original one, Halloween classic. So,
fun fact: our very own handsome Tom Gazzola, who is expected to go rather highly in the Handsome Man draft, which should be. I wonder if Quinn talked about that today on the Hangout.
Is that the next draft?
Handsome Men? Yes.
Drafting handsome men.
Yes.
Are we in it?
Well, I'm going to be in the draft, literally.
Yeah, that's what I mean. No, that's what I mean.
I might draft you.
Dude, I am not a handsome man. I know it's
Speak for
subjective,
yourself.
but
Speak for yourself. I think you're very attractive.
Oh, thank you, Jay.
And those legs are popping today with those green shorts. I must say,
My legs used to be way bigger when I used to run. I've lost so much muscle on my legs.
Everybody was talking about handsome Tom's legs in the Hangout
Well,
today.
no, they weren't talking about his legs.
How those were.
They're-
some things were popping in that picture too.
They were talking about something. Anyway, we are going to do goof ups. I confused Guy Ritchie and Guy Pearce. Guy Ritchie is a director. Guy Pearce is the actor who was in the horror comedy western cannibal film Ravenous, released in 1999. I probably made other goof ups, but I just remember the most recent one. Well, I was for someone who worked at Blockbuster, I never watched a live that came out in 93, and I worked at Blockbuster from 95 to 98. So a goof up I made almost 30 years ago was never renting a live for free. So I didn't know the details of that film.
The only goof up is that I did all this work and I gave all this information to Zachary, and I never did get a chance to talk about the tailgate chili cook-off.
I thought you did that earlier.
I mentioned it. I briefly. We talked.
We
about
got
it.
the thing, don't we? He made a page.
We got the thing. There's a thing. The 2024 chili cook-off is happening on October 5th at the Elks and Riders tailgate. There's plenty of ways to win. You can, for every best of the tailgate, People's Choice Award. Every time you enter and vote for somebody, you are entered to win some of the prizes they have in there. You can see that the Elks Herd, the Turf District, us here at Edmonton Sports Talk, and You Need a Barbecue are all sponsors of this great event. If you haven't done it before, I'm telling you, it's worth it. Bring your Lactaid, bring your Tums, whatever you need for indigestion, Pepto-Bismol, bring it with you and enjoy that down at the tailgate.
I did. I made a pretty serious goof up. I have paid for Oilers Plus. I had the wrong promo code.
Yes,
which was misreported by another media member, by the way. I won't say who.
Was it our very own Zachary?
No, it was not anybody who works here.
Media. Me? No, I'm kidding.
No.
You're a member of the media.
Yeah,
a lot of people chiming in
I
about your
want to
hat.
watch the game when I get home.
You've got a nice hat.
It is a beautiful hat. I like the Boston Bruins. They have a lot of great history.
I like when teams that have brown in their color scheme lean into it. Remember, I was talking about the Wyoming Cowboys. How they're brown.
I wasn't here for that.
With the gold. Maybe that was on the hangout. Lean into it. If brown is your color, lean into it.
Well, the Bruins they're black. They're black and gold.
There's brown.
Their old jerseys were brown, so this is a throwback.
The really old ones were
jersey.
More,
it's got the old bear on it, the gold bear. Also, I have one goof up for each of you two.
Oh, good.
So you said Seth Griffith, I think once. That was just by mistake. And then Jay.
What's his name?
Griffin.
No,
Seth
it isn't.
Is it not?
The Oilers the guy from the Bakersfield Condors is Seth Griffith.
It's Griffith?
Yes.
I've been wrong.
He's a Bakersfield Condor.
Okay,
wow.
That's a penalty lap.
He played one game for the Oilers in 21-22.
Tomorrow during the show, you need to run a penalty lap, which means you go out, down the stairs, touch the street, and come back up.
You think I can run?
He gets a penalty lap. That's incredible.
Jay, you called it the EST listener party. It's a watch party. We're not listening to anything.
Yes.
Besides the TV screen.
Thank you, Coob. Ice Coob. I appreciate
Boy,
it.
he's really picky.
Good. Hey, we can only get better one way.
I'm catching it. I got my ears open because I'm listening to you guys and watching.
All right. That is the incomparable Zach Kubish. On behalf of Jay Milne, I'm Reid Wilkins. Thanks for listening. Oilers game starts right away on Oilers Plus.
Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.